I have it on good authority that Max deleted the Resto Shaman Discord. Wait, the Resto Shaman Discord is dead? What a good day. I'm just kidding. Well, not really. It's blowing up in 2 days. Are they looking for buffs? Are they doing it in retaliation for their class being basic now? Maintain the agenda at all costs? Yes, sir. Guys, I'm going to tell you what's really nice is not being an FPS streamer where you get like stream sniped and cheated on all game. That looks absolutely miserable. Like, there's no version of that for my kind of streaming, you know? Where, like, you're a multiplayer PvP streamer, basically, but you just get absolutely shit on. Did you ever get sniped in Plunderstorm? Actually, that's a... I don't know. Maybe. Like, here's what I think happens in Plunderstorm, is, like, you fight someone and then they're like, oh, it's Trill, oh, it's Max, oh, it's Peekaboo, and then they like hard zone in on you because they like recognize your name kinda and they like chase you down a lot. But I don't think people like literally try to queue into your Plunderstorm lobby and grief you. I don't think. Sure, maybe it happened a little bit. Honestly, dude, when we were playing Plunderstorm, this is gonna sound kind of stupid, but like we were winning so much that I don't think like it could have happened, but we didn't even know. Like we won like 38 straight games one time or something. Like our win rate was like 95%. So like even if people were like sniping us or whatever, we just farm at people. It doesn't matter. Max wrecked me the one time I played against him in Plunderstorm. Yeah. I like no life that game. I miss it, bro. I'd queue some plunder right now. All right, boys. I'm going to mention this later in the stream, but I am trying something with Franck. So, my streams right now are pretty much just when I feel like going live and having fun. Because like, if there's like super free content, I'll always go live. But there's not a ton of that in the WoW specific space. So we are going to branch out on stream a little bit. Think like when we normally are going to end the stream, like 2 or 3 hours in, y'all are spamming overworking and shit. I'm going to try, you know, either reacting to or just paying attention to some non-WoW related stuff. Can be gaming related still or non-gaming related. One thing I'm hard staying away from is like any kind of culture war politics shit. Like literally anything even remotely pertaining to that, just completely not interested in it. And yeah, so I will be doing some of this research myself, but also I created a new Discord channel, if y'all are in the sub-Discord, called Non-WoW Theft. And there's like the We Steal channel for WoW-related reacting, stealing content, but this channel is going to be specifically non-WoW related. And this is basically not going to take anything away from the content you're already getting. It's just adding content, but it might be a little different. So it might not be your thing, and it's going to happen at a specific point in the stream. Um, so yeah, just let you know. It'll be fun. Maybe. Max, check out the German OnlyFans guild. They had Zaryu in for a court yesterday. Yeah, so I'm like, unfortunately, for WoW related stuff, I'm completely uninterested in anything like hardcore OnlyFans. Uh, just any kind of basically anything classic WoW related is just not my jam. I don't really like it. Not interested in it. Not interested in it. Max is retiring from WoW. I mean, there's just not enough WoW content year round to support it, you know. At least for there. I mean, there is if you're a classic slash retail person, but that's just unfortunate. This is not me. Have you ever played Elden Ring? Yeah, I played and beat Elden Ring on stream. Did the DLC on stream up until the last boss, then I never pulled it. I just forget something else just like came up. We just stopped doing it. That was fun. I'm also a two-time Elden Ring Twitch Rivals PvP champion. Have 2 pot friend trophies in my house. Haters will say carried by Ouroboros, but real dudes will say that I had to 1v1 box in the final for the trophy and I won. W me. Did you see I'm Exile was playing Elden Ring and he was actually kind of good? Uh, no, but I'd be willing to believe that he would be good at most things he cares about. He's just a good gamer. Gaming skill, this is something that I feel very strongly about is like gaming skill is like completely transferable. Like basically here's my take. If you are ever someone who is in the actual I'm not even going to make up a percentile, but you are like at the very top of a game. That's pretty competitive. If you ever play any other game and you go at it with that same passion, even if it's for a short stint, you're going to be really, really fucking good at it. Like, to get good at games, it's like this unrelenting desire to be better at something. And when you have done that enough to get good enough at any game to be like the best at it or among the best at it, if you're so good at that process that when you apply it to any other game that you care about and you're going to put that amount of effort into, you're just going to be you're going to be really good. I remember I talked to the league team about this because like, so during last season's TL like league season, after the race, they asked me to like talk to their team. I didn't really know why, because like they don't know who the fuck I am, but like they watched like the race a little bit and they just had some questions for me about like how you like manage a large team and like basically don't fucking hate each other. And then also, you know, just like some similar, just like a way for us to learn off of each other. And I learned some things for them. And that was one of the things I asked them. Cause like, they're obviously all like really sick league players. Multiple of them have won a lot. Some of them were like newer players, but you know, have achieved success, good players. And I was like, I asked them about that. Like, do you think gaming skill is transferable? Like, do you guys think, like, if you put what does it look like when you guys play other games that you're like really into? And they're like, yeah, they're like all sick at them. Like they're the highest possible rank at them because, you know, once you get to that level at anything in games, if you pick a new game that you're like obsessed with, you're going to be that good at it. Max, do you think you would ever do an IRL stream of you playing hockey for us? I won't put it like completely out of the question. The thing is I don't have any IRL streaming set up, and I don't really feel like doing it. And there's another thing too. I am like really opposed to ever being the person that is like creating content in public. Like just the thought of like a cameraman following me around and then people seeing that is like fucking disgusts me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like right here, I'm just sitting in my room gaming and talking to you guys. But like when you're like going outside, like dude, just the idea that I'll actually give you an example. I play a pickup game every Friday. Then there's this one goalie that shows up and he puts a GoPro behind the net, and every single time they have to change sides, he does this like 3-minute routine of like moving his camera. It's not Blau, by the way. I actually just remembered that like there was that live stream thing of Blau. It's not Blau, it's some other guy. And I'm just like, dude, if that was me and all these people were just watching me do that, I would just hate that. If I had like just even like a GoPro on my helmet, I mean that just looks stupid and you'd get endlessly chirped for it. Like I just have no desire to do that. I just like playing hockey, you know? Does USA Hockey have rules about that? Yeah, I think they do. I don't think you're allowed to do that with games that have like refs in them, for example. You know, I am realizing though the more hockey I play, the more I want to do like training sessions with skills coaches, and I want to play pickup games, and I don't want to play any men's league. I play so much men's league, and I always am more mad at that than I am playing a pickup game for like a couple reasons. But the main one is that beer league refs are fucking terrible, and they cannot admit when they're wrong, and it just drives me insane. He's definitely not playing for Team USA, lol, but it all depends on his local barn. If they allow or even someone wants recording. My guy on my hockey team wears a GoPro on his helmet, makes pretty cool YouTube content. If you're going to wear a GoPro on your helmet, you have to be good or else you'll get chirped. Yeah, of course. But it has nothing to do with being good. It's just like fucking corny, you know? I don't know why I have this thing I'm like a content creator that is like really averse to anyone seeing you in public creating content. I don't really know why that is. But that yeah. I just like sitting it's comfortable for me to sit in my room doing this, you know? Plus I've always had some kind of aversion to creating IRL content, because at least in terms of people saying like, oh, you're going and doing this thing, you're traveling, why don't you just do a vlog? Why don't you like record all of it? And I think there's something to be said about like separating your life from content, you know? Like if everything you do extracurricular just becomes content, I don't like the sound of that. I don't know, it just sounds weird. But also there's a middle ground there, right? Isn't the first non-WoW stream traditionally a cooking stream? I've done that before. I had that set up. I had probably a bad setup in my house for that, but it kind of worked. Speaking of skill transfer, are you good at hockey video games? I mean, yeah, I'm like all right. I don't know. So I'm not like super sick at any. I mean, actually, I'd probably be better than I think, but like sports video games for one reason, and I've played a lot of them in my life. I've always been a pretty big sports fan. So I think it takes a special kind of person to like just queue up 1v1 multiplayer in like Madden or NHL or I mean, probably fighting games too. Like, I don't know. Like, there's something that just makes me feel so uncomfortable in that situation. Like, I don't know. Like, the mental shield you need to not just endlessly tilt and rage off the face of the earth when playing any kind of 1v1 like game. I don't have that in me, bro. I don't know what people have, but like, it just makes, I just get mad. I just get way too mad. I don't know how people do it, man. They have like something that just shields them from being mad or something, or they're just always mad. So they're like, I don't know. Like, dude, just the thought of some. Oh my god, just makes me mad. Just makes me fucking mad. That's all there is to it. Doesn't help the NHL game series is historically dog shit. Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys a pretty funny story that I don't know if I should be saying on stream, but Team Liquid had some kind of deal with the NHL a few years ago, and I went down and I marketed their new game. I think it was NHL 25, maybe, or 24. And I went to Las Vegas during media week for the NHL players, and I basically sat on a couch and I, with no sleeves, if you follow NHL creators at all, I like interviewed some NHL players about their upcoming season while also playing them in NHL on a couch, and it was pretty fun. This isn't the interesting part of the story. I did meet and play against a bunch of NHL stars, Jack Hughes, Draisaitl, Adam Fox, a bunch of players. But I also saw McDavid walk down a hallway. That was fun. But he, I was like kind of talking with no sleeves in like the lounge where they were doing this, and I don't know why I was so situationally unaware. But you know, he's an NHL creator, so he probably has to kind of watch what he says. He wants to be on like their good side. But obviously, if any of you guys play sports, have played a sports-based like game in the past 10 years, you will know that those games have kind of gone downhill because they just are purely focusing on like gambling addiction through their like my team or ultimate team modes. It's if you on not even too far below the surface, it's like really fucked up. But it's how they make all their money, so they're not going to stop doing it, right? But like in a way that's like, you know, in the gaming world, if you know a lot about that, I think it's kind of like dog shit. So I'm like talking about that a little bit with no sleeves. I'm like, you know, like, yeah, dude, it kind of sucks. This is what it is. And like, I didn't even think about it, but there's just like, there was I don't know how high up he was, but I think he was pretty high up, like EA guy in the room that I had got introduced to, but I didn't like, it didn't really click with me that like, but yeah, I'm just sitting here just talking about how like these games have gone downhill just right in front of these people. And then like, you know, they're all sitting there like, yeah. And I kind of realized halfway through that what I was doing. That one, the one that gets me with tilting is watching COD pros. They will die to some serious bullshit and just call it out and move on. Meanwhile, if I died like that, I'd be tilted for an hour. Yeah, no, you seriously have to be like mentally built different, I think, to do any kind of 1v1 things, like sports games 1v1s, fighting games, uh anything where there's not a team involved. Like it's like League, right? Like League of Legends, whenever you die, you can just be like my jungler sucks or something, you know? But when you're playing one of those games, you can never do that. There's only one person to blame. Well, I guess you could say the other person is like cheesing or whatever, but really it's just your fault. That's hard to admit. It's either those people are impervious to being mad or they like don't mind it or they like it. You know? I fucking like that shit. You should do an NFL playoff bracket on stream. Dude, honestly, I would on like any other season, but I have watched a historically low amount of NFL this season. In fact, I feel like this was a really interesting season to do that because just no. I think I talked about this last time I was on stream, but I'm going to do it again. Like, there's so many random bad teams that are good. Like, if you were to take 10 months off of not paying attention to the NFL for the past 6 to 8 years, you would have almost nothing would have changed. Like, Ravens, Chiefs, Bills, uh, all these like regular ass teams are making the playoffs with their really good quarterbacks. And then like, dude, you take 10 months off this season, the Jags are like 10 plus wins, the fucking Patriots, the Broncos are good, the Bears are making the playoffs. Like there's just it's like a historic what the fuck is happening season, and I bet it would have been really interesting to watch because obviously there's probably a lot of good young talent. But yeah, it was just like a jump scare, like looking at the standings the other day. Max, what are you talking there, Max? My Seahawks are ahead on the number one seed in the NFL. Yeah, like this fucking Seahawks are randomly good, right? I am glad. You know what really makes me happy? Whenever quarterbacks are like drafted really highly overall and then they like start playing right away and then obviously they get fucking destroyed and like almost no quarterbacks in the history of this game have been able to be successful early, right? Uh and then they naturally just get traded to another team and then after a few years of experience they're able to actually be good because that's how hard being a quarterback is. So like when I saw Sam Darnold go to the Seahawks and do well, I'm just like I just root for anyone in that situation because I feel like it's basically these people have all this hype around them and they have impossible expectations and yeah, I don't know. Whenever they just get shit on and kicked out of their team, I just want them to do well. But one cute quarterback one time was good right away, so now everyone has to follow that model. Yeah, it's so stupid. All right, so goal today, by the way, with Franck, something I wanted to do is do a bracket of the worst raid bosses of all time. Um, I'm not sure if I want to do 32 or 64. I'm probably just going to start naming really bad raid bosses. And when we if we're struggling to name some past a certain point, then maybe we'll cut it off. So maybe we'll start with 32. But yeah, the idea is to basically just list the bad bosses and then and see where they go. So we're probably gonna do this from Cataclysm, maybe Mop and onwards, honestly. I think Mop and onwards might be better. Just more relatable. At least Mop is current, like in Classic right now. Are you gonna do random seeds? Uh, yeah, it's a good point, right? I mean, if you actually rank them and then put them in the bracket, I think random seeds are more fun. Like the what's the downside of random seeds, right? It's like two really bad bosses. Like you could theoretically have the worst and second worst boss of all time, uh, like in the first round, which doesn't really make sense, but yeah. But then if you do them legit, then like the first few rounds are really boring. So are they mechanically bad or unfun bad? I don't know. Honestly, you guys are probably going to vote on it. Be chat polls for each bracket thing, or we'll have you vote on Twitter, something like that. I think Twitter might not be a bad idea, although that would like kind of dominate my Twitter feed for a long time, and I don't like that. I'll usually go back to my norm on Twitter, which is never tweeting. Hellfire Assault, easy W. Yeah, but like, this is probably part of the issue when you're rating like really good WoW bosses is like, how do you compare a really bad first boss to like a really bad end boss or like second to last boss? Was Shadowlands my favorite expansion? No, what was my favorite? I think my favorite expansion was Mop. But that's basically most people's favorite expansion is like either the second or third expansion they play, and it's once they finally like understand the game and get kind of good at it, mixed with it being an actual good expansion. So for me, it's Mop, but could kind of be whatever for you. It just depends on when you started playing. Just because like even if I played better expansions since Mists of Pandaria, nothing will like equal the feeling of like when something is still relatively new to you and you're getting better at it and it's good content. There's like, it's just unbeatable. Mop was goated for me, but like objectively everything is better now, right? Um, Objective is hard for people because like nostalgia and stuff like that, but I think largely, yeah, like the whole dailies in Mop, like world quests are just a better version of that, and uh, rating content has been getting better and better over time. But when you look at something like 15 years in the past to now or 13 years, it's like such a massive change. But then it's also, and in a way, it's subjective because like I'm not saying everyone who disagrees with this is this basic, but there are some people that genuinely just like are gonna find the game more fun when raids were just easy, right? Like that's a big thing with Classic is you can just the difficulty to get the best gear in the game is way easier than it is on retail, and for some people that's just makes sense for them and they like that. It's too objective. Been playing since 2005, and my favorite X pack was Dragonflight. Oh, that's so interesting. You hear very few people have that take. Because like the super like online all the time unemployed people, they're like huge Legion BFA heads because they were like not behind ever with artifact power and they just appreciated the grind, right? It rewarded them more for playing the game at the expense of others. Um, Hearing someone playing since 2005 and liking Dragonflight's interesting because Dragonflight is when they kind of stopped cooking, broke everything down to like basics and started working on the fundamentals again. But it was like a long rebuild, right? Like it was, you really felt that in Dragonflight. You felt the pains of that. So a lot of people didn't really like that. It was an interesting time to be a content creator though, low key. Like the week to week changes in the game were just so massive because they tried to release the talent trees and like didn't real I mean they probably realized it, but like it was such an insane undertaking that it was going to take a lot of extra work, and so it was like constantly being developed for such a long time. So like every week like a new talent tree was getting worked on. It's pretty fun, at least for me. Actually, it might have been exclusively for me. I don't know how many people like genuinely care about the direction of the game in terms of like understanding where all of the talent trees are at and where every class is, because like most people they play their main and they're like, I just care about this thing, and it's totally valid. Why the fuck would you care about the direction of Resto Shaman or whatever, right? Like uh I'm like, I think pretty unique in that way just because of my role in the game, where I kind of care about overall balance rather than any specific main. But yeah, for people like that, people like me, Dragonflight was really interesting. I mean, since 2005, Wrath and Kata are goated. There was nothing like ICC before, and Kata was when I found my best friends while raiding. Yeah, actually, I was thinking about that with Mop. I think Mop was the first time where I was like like I felt like my best friends were online. You know, like I had this this like realization while playing this game that I just connected more with people online than I did IRL usually. And then like I just made really good friends in Mop in game. And that, I mean, if you were to poll, I were to guess if you were to poll most people's like favorite expansion, it would be the time where that is true, where they were just making a lot of friends in this game. What is the percentage chance that anyone claims The War Within is their favorite of all time? It's hard to tell, because it's so close. Like literally every like good expansion that we talk about now, like when we were leaving it, people were like, "This is the worst expansion ever, bro. I fucking can't wait till this shit is over." So it definitely needs time, but I think the answer to that question is similar to what we just said. If someone is like has got into WoW within the last 3 to 4 years, and this is the expansion where they finally feel like they're improving at it, and then also they're like making a lot of friends, they will probably look back on this expansion really fondly because the way they played and viewed the expansion was through the lens of all of those other things, which is very positive, right? So just depends. Why is The War Within bad? Some of The War Within bad takes are it's like Dragonflight 2. Right? Like everyone was kind of okay with Dragonflight resetting and like, you know, rebuilding some base stuff, and there was a lot of success there. But this expansion just felt like, I don't know, maybe that whole process naturally should have been like 2 or 3 years, and it was 4, and it was just like you kind of felt that. I'm just speaking purely as like a PvE gameplay focused player though, because I think like a lot of people, they don't really do that. As a classic, Andy, Dragonflight drugged me back into retail. Been playing since Dragonflight Season 3, and I'm now pushing higher Mythic Plus keys and Mythic Grade, and I'm ready for Midnight. Yeah, W. I also think Midnight will... I mean, I assume Midnight will be really popular for the housing stuff, but I'm really interested in seeing if that actually ends up meaningfully growing the player base. Because, like, is there a type of gamer out there that would start playing WoW exclusively because of their housing system? I think the answer might be yeah, because it's just so unique, and I don't know how many games you can really do. Like, basically, is it going to be something that makes current WoW players happy or like, grow the game? I think this is hard for me to gauge because, like, this isn't the kind of player I am or really that a lot of you are probably, but I think so. It just depends on how they market it. I feel like a lot of WoW doomers are just sheep that got influenced. You could say that about anything, but I mean, probably. But then just saying that anyone who doesn't like WoW is just a sheep is also like kind of a take, you know? You definitely want to try really hard to not say the phrase people who don't think the way I do about a game are sheep. Right? Because then once you get into the everyone else that disagrees with me is wrong thing, I think you can go down a pretty dark path of saying and thinking some real stupid shit. Oh, I was actually thinking about something recently. I know everyone last expansion was doing this huge, like, they might sweep the expansion. That's so huge. And then if you guys watched my channel at all, I'm like, I feel like that's not very significant because there have been guilds that have won 3 raids in a row before, even recently. To where that doesn't feel historically significant. Now, if we win the next raid and we win 4 in a row, how many times has that happened? Where a guild has won 4 raids, 4 raids in a row, basically in all of WoW's history. Paragon? What raids? Method from Mop. So Method won Mop, although Blood Legion won Heart of Fear. But it's all kind of one tier. So, okay, so they won... Oh, no, it is Method, I think. Old Method Legion to BFA. Let me think about it for a second, but I don't think so. Let me notepad this. That'll be the easiest way to keep track of it. All right. I like how this just says max. That's good. All right. Guilds that won 4 raids consecutively. I'm gonna try to spell this live on stream. That's wrong, isn't it? Consecutively. It's not telling me to autocorrect it, but that just doesn't look right. Is that fucking right? Hold on. Hold on. I just actually sent that shit. All right, fuck yeah. Dude, holy W. Guilds that won 4 raids. Max, here's a spreadsheet. Links don't work in my chat. You'd have to, like, DM it to you. Paragon won 4 out of 5 raids in Kata, and it was 4 in a row. Not Dragon Soul, which was the 5th. So here's the weird... So, raids like Tier 11 and Tier 14, so the first tier in Kata and the first tier in Mop, at least how these things are looked at is if you... The first person in Tier 11 to get... I don't know how many bosses there were. Let's say 14 bosses. The first person to get 14 out of 14 heroic would have won that tier, but they didn't win 3 raids in a row by winning all 3 of those raids because they were all part of one tier. It's the same thing as next tier. Like, let's say, for example, if we were to win next tier and we were to be the first people to kill the 1 boss raid, the 6 boss raid, and the 2 boss raid, if that is true, we wouldn't have won the raid. We wouldn't have won 6 straight raids. We would have won 4 because all 3 of the next upcoming raids are part of one tier. So that's the criteria here. The longest streak was Nihilum with Encourage through Black Temple. So how many tiers is that? Right? So it's okay, so let's Nihilum 8 tiers. Like I'm not familiar with classic and TBC tiers. Like if raids came out at the same time, in my opinion, they're all part of the same like thing. So like AQ, so Nihilum got AQ, then what's the next raids they got? AQ, Nax, then what? Gruul, so Mag / Gruul. Then Serpent Shrine Cavern, then Tempest Keep, then Black Temple. Is that right? Were Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep at the same time? Okay, yeah. So they won 5. They won all of... They were first to every single one of these? Oh, Black Temple and Hyjal. And Zulaman as well. It's part of T5. Okay, so never mind. We do not have a chance to make history in this raid then. So if we win this upcoming raid, we will have only gotten up to this point, or up to this point. So we'd have to win 5 in a row to tie them, and then 6. Well, I don't know about that. We're gonna lose one of these raids. I know that sounds stupid to say, but like Echo's just like really good. Like realistically, even if we think we're insane and the best or whatever, you're just not gonna win that many in a row. But isn't the SSC world first kind of weird with a bug? I have no idea, bro. Method is also tied with Nihilum on 5. When was Method's best? So when did Method? So Method didn't win Dragon Soul, so it would have started in tier 14. So tier 14, then Throne of Thunder, then Siege of Orgrimmar. Okay, so that's like 3 in a row. And then, okay, so they lost. This is where this gets controversial. They lost Highmaul, but they won Blackrock Foundry. But I know they were released separately, but like they were kind of all one tier. Like, for example, if you won Nighthold, and then theoretically, I know Exorcist won Emerald Nightmare as well, but if you won Nighthold, even if you didn't even raid an Emerald Nightmare and Trial of Valor, you would have won that tier. You would have won all of those things combined. It all is just the last thing. So, like, in tier 14, we lost Heart of Fear, too. Yeah, but I feel like, yeah, I mean, the raids were not really, yeah, maybe there is a difference between, like, because in tier 11... and in this next raid, the raids were all released at the same time. Is there any difference when raids are released not at the same time? Like, are Highmaul and Blackrock Foundry different? Are Emerald Nightmare, Trial of Valor, and Nighthold different than, like, Tier 11 or Tier 14? Well, Tier 14 was not released simultaneously. Any chance I can get a link to you? There's a great Reddit overview. Yeah, you'd have to DM it to me on Twitch or put it in my sub Discord, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is kind of up for debate, but let's just count Highmaul as like the first tier of WoD. So Blackrock Foundry, that's 4 in a row. And then you're also counting tier 14, which is also like has an asterisk, but whatever. And then they won they also won Hellfire Citadel, right? So like if you ignore the Highmaul loss and the Heart of Fear loss, that's 5. But there's a lot of stuff you'd have to do there. 5 in a row. Okay, what's and then you guys said Method from Legion to BFA. Ooh, wait, yeah. Wait. Method mop through WoD. Do you count Crucible? In a thing like this, I'm a little torn because like it really bothered me that, I mean, we didn't raid Crucible, but like the fact that Method and Pieces both did, and Pieces just straight up beat them. But then Method had so many fans at the time, so they could just like create their own narrative. They just like totally disregarded that as like, we didn't really try. We didn't have all of our players. And that was just like, that like really rubbed me the wrong way. But that being said, when you're looking at things in the totality of like the Race to World First, Crucible was its like own race. Like so quickly and like so recent from Battle of Dazar'alor. But it doesn't feel right to like have it be its own thing, right? Because like Highmaul is like more similar to Crucible of Storms, and not in difficulty, but like It's just not like a tier. I don't know. Sent you on Twitch DM. Raid tier overview. Okay, let me look at what I'm looking at here. Comp WoW end bosses world first. Oh, okay. What are we looking at here? Open image in a new tab, yeah. What? Why is open image in a new tab still put it on Reddit so that you can't zoom in? Whatever. That's so bad. Okay, how do you actually do this? You have to copy image and someone knows how to use Reddit. I'd never go on Reddit. Whatever. Okay, I can see it though. World first clear. Oh yeah, dude. If you include the like mini raids, Nihilim's run here was wild. AQ all the way through Black Temple. Wait, isn't Insidia like kind of Nihilum? Isn't that the lore? I don't really know, but it's like similar guild, right? Yeah, they are. So you're telling me Nihilum won all these raids in a row and they lost literally one time and disbanded? Bro, that is some baby shit. Let's talk about it. Let's fucking talk about that. Okay. Okay, so when you're asking if Crucible of Storms should count, you have to also ask if like Ruby Sanctum should count. Even though Crucible of Storms very difficult raid, it's still like just a non-seasonal thing. It's just like I don't know. Oh, this is only up till Nerebar Palace. Counting all of those raids separately would be like counting all 3 raids of next patch separately. Yeah. Okay, well this doesn't really help me much. I kind of knew most of this stuff, but because like this isn't really helping because like this, there look in Kata, right? Kata has 5 raids listed and there's only 3. Like there's one thing I'm positive about when we're doing all this like what is a tier, what is a raid thing. Blackwing Descent, Bastion of Twilight, Throne of Four Winds, that's 1 raid. That's 1 tier. Whatever. Like that's one thing. That's not, you don't get 3 consecutive world first things from doing 1 tier. That's not a thing. But it does get a little rocky with, and I think I agree with Mop too. I don't know why, even though they were released separately, I feel like this is all 1 tier of Mop as well, even though they weren't released at the exact same time. But with WoD, I don't know, WoD, for some reason in my brain, it's weird connecting like Highmaul and Blackrock Foundry. I don't know why that is. But yeah. You like the gear argument? Oh, if it like drops the same like, you know, kind of gear. Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason you call it a tier also is because, like, for example, the reason the first tier of Legion ends with Nighthold is because that's the raid that dropped the actual tier gear, like tier sets. Right? Like, Highmaul didn't drop tier sets, Blackrock Foundry did. Same with, I'm not quite sure on the Mop and Kata one works, but yeah. Trial of Valor doesn't get talked about enough. Actually true. Very true. Trial of Valor had like 3 banger bosses. They were all 3 like really good. Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so I don't know why I spent so long looking at this, but so method to mod is like 5 in a row. So there's also a method from Legion to BFA. And what does this look like? So it starts at Tomb, Antorus, Uldir, Battle to Zarlor, 4. Yeah, then there's no asterisks with that. That's just, those were all just, that was actually, Tomb of Sargeras, right, was the first tier where, actually, so since Tomb of Sargeras all the way until now, they haven't done any of the, like, little mini raids thing. Up until new expansion. And I believe new expansion will work kind of how we're talking about it, by the way. Like, for example, and this is going to be kind of weird, but, like if we, for example, kill the first 6 boss raid, and it's like a really epic conclusion. It's like a really cool boss. Currently, there's very little in the Dungeon Journal about it. And then you kill the 1 boss raid, and like that's it. And then the new raid comes out, and you lose that next raid. You lost all of it. It's similar to, like, you know, when you kill the 7th boss in a raid, you might nerd scream because it was really hard and it took a really long time, but you didn't win the race. It's going to be, this raid is going to be very similar to that. Like, winning the first 2 raids doesn't matter at all. Although I am interested to see, like, how hard they make that first boss in the last raid. Or, sorry, the last boss in the first raid that comes out. Like, I feel like they might try to, like, knowing that other boss isn't out yet, they might try to make that one, like, kind of crazy. But at the same time, because all the tier gear drops in that first raid, I could also see the argument where they make that raid a little bit easier because they know the majority of the community. Like, if you're going to put the hardest boss in the second raid that comes out that drops, like, not the gear you need for the patch, it's kind of easy to make that really hard because other players won't matter as much if they can't interact with it. Where maybe they're going to make the first raid, like, a little easier because it, like, splitting the raids can basically be a way for them to make everyone happy, right? They could make the race happy, and they can make the average cutting edge raider happy by making the first raid more accessible and the second raid like more of like a chase, right? Yeah, so method's easy here. TOS, Antorus, Uldir. Okay, fuck. So if we, bro, if only we didn't extend. What a world. Damn, we could have prevented the 4. Okay, fuck. So if we win this next raid, we only tie method for 4 in a row. We don't even tie method mob through WAD, even though that one I think has some asterisks. And then Nihilum just straight up 5 in a row. Damn. All right, we got some ways to go. The reality of, like, I don't know. I know this sounds stupid because as a competitor, you're, like, confident in your guild. And I'm so confident in our guild. We've made so many strides forward. We're confident. We've done well recently. We've, like, changes into the new expansion. We have, like, our best players in the guild healing, which is, like, so important. We picked up some great players. Morale's good. Like, all that stuff. But, like, you're just not going to win every raid with Echo there. Who's also, like, increasingly hungry and, you know, potentially what can happen with business in this world, right, is literally desperate, right? The more you lose, the more your views go down. The less sponsors want to interact with you, and they're their own org, so they have to succeed, right? Like, you can't fake that feeling of needing to succeed. Do you know what I mean? So, like, yeah, it's gonna be really hard to do that for sure. Do you think Method is getting interesting again with recent player swaps from Echo? I have literally no idea what players Method have got from Echo recently. What is that? Do you mean like what happened last year? Or has there been like super recent stuff? The issue, I think the issue with a lot of people that join Method from Echo is I actually don't know how good they are. Like for example, I feel like a Twitch viewer, right? Like when I hear some player from Echo into Method, it's like, okay, I guess they're good. They were in Echo, right? I haven't played with them. I don't like. There are some players in Echo where, like, if they join a new guild, I'd be like, oh, that guy owns. Like, there are guys own, But then like there's, I don't know, like 60% of their roster where if, unless you played with them, they could be great or a fringe player, right? And then you have another issue too where like you might run into some like commitment things. Like I remember when I joined Limit, or when we made Limit, it was like this really interesting split between a bunch of Blood Legion players that have already succeeded and are like kind of over the day rating thing. And at the time we rated 5 days a week, 5 hours. And half the guild was like, I have no desire to go for world first again. This is a cozy, still a lot of rating, but less than all day, every day. And then half the guild was like, I want to be world first. Like, I want to ascend to that level. And then over time, you know, some of the people who wanted to chill out just got phased out naturally. Like the workload got too high for them, or they were over it, or whatever. And then we eventually went for it. But it was a rocky few years while we were figuring that out, right? Like having to separate people that are purely and fully committed with people that have their feet halfway in the water is not really sustainable. And I don't know this about Method. I'm not speaking confidently about this. I could be, this entire dynamic could not exist in Method, but it might. And that is because I think naturally it could, where I think they have some players in their guild who are like through and through Method, have come up and like seen the guild get better, and they're hungry as ever to get world first, right? And you can't make that up. You can't like pretend to care that much, by the way. It's like humanly impossible. And then they have people in their guild who I don't really know their reasons for joining all of them, but you know, some of them could be because they were just making more than they were getting paid in Echo, and people need to make a living, right? So if you're like joining a guild potentially because you got paid more money, but then also you're already a world first champion, you've already won. So like that drive to finally win isn't as strong. I think that guild maybe could have issues of commitment where, you know, some people in the guild want it more than others, and that can definitely lead to some not just difficulty in preparing, but like it can have a weird atmosphere, I think. I think you saw that a little last year with like there were some clips of like, you know, people talking to an accomplished raider and that person just not having it. Although I don't put too much stock in that because there's like a lot of like really stressful moments in the race, and pretty much everyone can have a bad look if you just look at one clip, which is, I mean, bro, you could clip me sounding like an idiot every race. So, you know, I don't put too much stock in that, but yeah, that's something I'm definitely interested in. Like if I could be a fly on the wall in their guild, I would find that interesting. Oh, but when you guys said that, I thought you were talking about this race. Those all people were there last race. Did they all stay? I think that's definitely pretty promising if they stayed. Because, like, if they joined and then for whatever reason the vibes were, like, super off, I feel like it's pretty likely they would have left and not wanted to do that again. Because, like, there's, like, I don't know how to put this. It's kind of an insane amount of effort to put into the race to world first if you deep down genuinely don't think you can win. Like, it's not really worth it. Like, even in our guilds, I actually messaged Roger the other day because we were having a guild meeting, and a number of characters we were going to play in the expansion was a number that had not been previously talked about before. And I literally just instantly messaged Roger. I'm just like, yo, you guys want to just, like, talk about some stuff that seems reasonable and just, like, not go above that number? And then, like they talked about it, and it's the typical thing where it's like, well, how do you punish someone who relevels a bunch of alts because they're changing their classes? And it's like, we don't know, we couldn't figure it out. But the point is, we're basically, the people who are winning these races are constantly at the edge of what we can do for an advantage and what won't make all of our players quit the game. So if you are trying to match that effort, and deep down, and I don't know if Method people think this or whatever, I don't really talk to them about this at all, but if you genuinely deep down think you can't win, it's really hard to expect people to put in that much effort, because the reward potentially isn't there, right? You can only do the like, we're going to get there thing. We just have to keep getting better. You can only do that for so long, right? And yeah, I don't know. It's tough, you know, but the fact that those method players stayed after last raid, right? Because I think last raid they had a lot of, like, they were pretty hyped. They were like, we're finally ready to do this. We picked up all these players, and then, you know, I don't think, I mean, maybe they feel differently. I don't feel like they were super close to winning that race. And if those players that have that expectation of winning didn't leave, that means that they do actually genuinely believe that they can win, which is good, right? So yeah, to answer your question of like, I'm kind of just like brainstorming about this because I don't really think about this, but I would like to, like, if you're hype on method, I feel like that kind of makes sense because like there's some things pointing to, like, if the people, forget the fans, if the guild just didn't think they could win now or in the future, the people there who have won before would not stay. I don't think. There just wouldn't be a point. But if they are in there, then I feel like they do feel like that, which is the closest barometer you could use to see if like they're ready to succeed, I think. Do you think that one of Liquid's biggest advantage is lack of competition for splits? You know, I would think so, but for some reason, we like base our prices off of what EU is doing, even though we're not really competing with anyone. And we could probably pay a lot less and still get by, but we're already paying the prices we would have to pay if there were someone else to compete with us. So like, I don't really think so. And that's even extra stupid because the value of gold in EU and NA is different. Your 1 gold in NA is worth more than 1 gold in EU. But we still pay the same amount. We should probably lower it, honestly. One player of Method commented that they partly used this raid to create their own strats, so it may be a sacrifice of pushing for strategic goals. Yeah, we've been saying that for a while. Like, really the only way to eventually compete is to put yourself in that situation, because if you just purely do the thing that's the path of least resistance, to kill these bosses as fast as possible with the least amount of pulls as possible, is you kind of ignore the information in front of you and try to come up with it on your own and solve your own problems when you get there, rather than having other people do it, because that makes you better at problem solving. Pretty simple, right? But it's also super hard to balance, right? Because like, sponsors and fans are going to be more fans of you the closer you are to winning. So it's like short-term game versus like long-term getting better, and you don't know how long-term you can go because like how long will this last before you can come in. But yeah, I mean, if they actually did that, then I think that's smart. Also, it's smart, but it's also like really dangerous. Plus, I'm sure they're doing a mix. I don't think they can. I don't think even they're saying they like did. I'm sure they had like their own preparation for bosses, but like, this is probably not a surprise to a lot of you, but like the last boss, and especially, is like pretty much purely figured out during progression. I'm sure, like, when you get to a boss as hard as Dementius, you're just like, all right, let's do our own shit. Like, if you're there like half a day behind or a day behind, you're gonna like do everything everyone's doing at P1, right? Echo and Method were struggling to fill slots for splits. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, with the amount of normals we're doing, we were even finding it hard to find helpers near the end. So, yeah. What is this sheet? Am I at work on a Teams call? Yeah, I mean, I can put it away. I don't really know why I pulled it up again. Oh, I went to look at like, yeah, so these are the raids that went in a row. Bro, I'm taking a day off in my job to play splits. Yeah. I run splits with you guys on 3 characters every race because it pays for my whole season. I'm a big fan of matching the EU prices. Yeah, because I mean, we had that conversation. We were like, because like we spend like 1 billion gold each race on this shit. So we're like, naturally, we're like, okay, how much could we get away with if we like paid half as much for normal? Like, would we still fill our normal splits? And my only thought for that and why I wasn't really a fan of it is you have to basically ask yourself the question of, okay, for all the people that were in our raids last year helping us with splits, how many of them do you think are helping us in splits for their second race or more, meaning they've done it before? And I just made up the number like 80+%. Like most players are like, I look forward to this every season and I keep doing this. So if the most people that are helping you are actually repeat helpers, lowering the prices is more dangerous than you think because they have an expectation. And if you don't meet that expectation, then it's the feeling of like, I don't know, right? And then you can end up pissing a lot of people off because it's the same reason why nerfs and buffs eventually get you the same target tuning thing, but one just feels worse than the other one. But yeah, I don't know. It would definitely be nice to spend 500 million instead of 1 billion on splits for sure. Max, we have new flavors of M's out. Have you tried any? Oh, fuck. No, I should, though. Is it hard for you guys to raise the gold with sales? Dude, I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I have no fucking clue. I know nothing about how much gold we make, how much gold we spend. That is so delegated that I would get mad at someone for even bringing it up to me. I don't want to know anything about that shit. The last raid payout seemed to take longer. Oh, I do know about that. So our person who handles our gold, he has multiple accounts for this, and one of them is purely for sending payouts to players. All it does is just send gold to players, and we've been doing this for many, many years, probably like 3-4 years now with the same person on the same account, and now their accounts are just getting machine gun banned, and they're fully compliant within all TOS. It's some kind of tripwire, like they obviously think it's a gold seller when you're just like sending massive amounts of gold to people. But yeah, we're like trying, is at least the last update I got on it is we're trying to like send, we have all this stuff documented, so we're trying to send all that information to them. But it's a huge problem. So if your payouts are delayed, it is because we are running into a massive amount of resistance from a Blizzardman. Max, why do you have an iPod Shuffle on your floor? It's an air purifier. Although I did bring that back recently. It's been in the closet. But yeah, it does look like a massive iPod. Not even Shuffle. Wasn't it an iPod Nano? Isn't that what that looked like? Oh, that's the Shuffle. Okay. MB. MB. Max, how are you guys going to manage helpers without weak auras? I still think we will largely, I mean, I think mostly the same way. I'm not super tapped in on this, but uh you can still do most things you could do with weak auras via add-ons. And we will most likely have like a liquid add-on that will include a lot of things to help people in the runs and also use it to manage players like we've done before. Now, getting people to download an add-on rather than install a weak is certainly a larger ask. So might run into some issues with that, honestly. But yeah, like most things, it'll be a little bit more challenging. Max, in the pod EC, you talked about your guilds and probably other racing guilds as well have developed an add-on for the raid that does everything really well. Will that be public at some point? I don't know. I mean, we'll probably have a public-facing one that we're linking around just for splits and stuff. As far as the other stuff, I don't know. We no one really knows where like the whole add-on game is going. Like honestly, this race will be kind of interesting to see what everyone comes up with, and then after seeing what other people have, everyone will refine certain things. Honestly, I think I'd probably wait until like the second tier of this expansion, honestly, to see really what's still possible, because a lot of smart people are still cooking shit up. Like those people aren't going away, you know? Like the people that were really smart that come up with tech-based solutions to in-game problems to make themselves play better, right? There's a large community for that has been developed in WoW over a long period of time. Those people aren't just going to be like, especially the weak people, they're not just going to like stop thinking like that. They're going to still try to solve those problems that way if possible. So knowing that, there's just it's going to be probably kind of slow, but I think eventually you will see a lot of that stuff. Cam freeze? I love this computer. Oh, it's so annoying. I'll get it. Yeah, it's some issue with my motherboard, I think. Currently, I have my mouse dongle like in the front of my computer, but if I were to put it in the back, it would just stutter all the time. Like I see my mouse moving on the screen right here. If I were to move my wireless mouse dongle to the like motherboard USB slots, it would just like stutter all over the place. And that's where my cam link is. And then if I do the same thing, if I put my cam link USB in the front, it actually makes my mouse start lagging. There's some kind of like weird USB power issue or like motherboard. I don't think it's drivers, like BIOS fully updated. Drivers for this are all fully updated, but like I don't know, something's cooked. It's basically like when there's too much stuff plugged into the USB thing, like they all fuck up. Max, what is going to keep you from using overlay style add-ons like some people do in Final Fantasy? Well, I think the biggest issue with that is what we're doing is so public that I mean, first of all, it's against the TOS and we would get banned. So that's one, the punishment is just pretty real. And like, I don't know, that's just like also like a lot of us are competitors, right? You don't want to do that. So I don't think that'll happen. Plus, like, the other thing is it can never be a secret. Impossible. People will leave the guild. We'll talk about it. It'll leak. Someone will literally... Players go in between top guilds all the time. You think they're just going to, like, hold that shit forever? No shot. So I think the fact that you know you will get caught and then everyone will look down on you and Blizzard will ban you is just... That's a pretty big punish, right? So I doubt no one will do that. That is with the guilds that have stuff to lose. I don't know exactly. At somewhere down the guild ranking, I think if the top guilds, like world first guilds, used cheating overlays, I think it would probably spread and everyone would use it. But we have something to lose. So I don't know how far down the guild ladder you will go for someone to come up with some bullshit that people will use. And they don't have anything to lose, so they don't care. Right? I don't know if that will happen. I assume it might. But also, like, you could have done these things in the past. So why haven't people done it in the past? And people will say, oh, because everything's going away now. But it's really not. And it would take for them to create a raid boss that basically requires weak auras, but you don't have them. And again, there's still a lot of ways to still do this stuff. So I doubt it. I mean, Northern Sky already has an add-on working on nameplates inside the raid, so it's coming back for sure. Yeah, a lot of that stuff is no. There's a lot of stuff that is not public yet that you can still do as well. Max, maybe this is a hot take, but I really liked Trial of the Crusaders' limited pull system. In today's raiding environment, would something like that be detrimental to the world first race? Yeah. Yeah, limited pulls are kind of stupid, honestly, because there's a lot of stuff can go wrong that's outside of your control. Pretty against limited pulls for a bunch of reasons. I think there's a reason they don't make them anymore. Did you guys figure out some things regarding the add-ons that you still can do that you asked Blizzard about if this is allowed? Yeah, everything we were planning on making or think is possible within the game that isn't cheating, we have run by Blizzard. Because this is a very trying time, and the last thing I think you'd ever want to do is run into a situation where Blizzard doesn't know about something you're doing and then has to like investigate it mid-race. That's just like a sketchy spot to be in. I'd rather be very ahead of that. Now, what's almost certainly going to happen is like there's going to be stuff on people's screens that viewers think is cheating, and then they're all going to like get super mad and like ask Blizzard to punish you basically. And instead of Blizzard having to look into that in real time, if you've already ran it by them and they've already cleared it, then like they don't have anything to do on that, and then like that's kind of just over instantly. Is your last tier list going on your YouTube channel? I assume so, yeah. Isn't it great that the net result of all of this is going to widen the gap even further between top guilds? Maybe. So the argument for that happening is with a lot of the solutions to problems going away, the people that were the best at solving problems in the first place are going to be, better at solving the new problems and will therefore outpace the other people, which sounds logical to me. But also, there's another element why I think that might not be true. And I'm not arguing the inverse will be true. One thing I definitely don't think is going to happen is like suddenly everyone will be closer in skill level. I think the argument that like it's basically going to stay the same as it is now is the tech you could use to actually help you be better. When you go down in guild ranks, one thing you find is that people are not actually using the tech to their best advantage. So like what you're saying would be true for sure, the whole like the gap is going to widen thing, is if you were to assume that everyone at every skill level that was, yes, all using weak auras, but it was all helping them the same. That is so unbelievably not true. Like the best person with weak auras is like super pruning and tailoring their entire UI to like perfectly give them information, but not too much to where they start ignoring things, which is insanely OP. And then like your average person with weak auras just straight up has every single alert on and all these bigwigs noises. And yes, they have weak auras and add-ons and stuff, but like it's basically doing nothing. It's honestly probably confusing people because it's just this stuff on your screen you don't care about that you learn to ignore, which makes the stuff that actually matter be less effective. So knowing that and how poorly a lot of people actually optimize weak auras for themselves, I could actually basically my take is I think the skill difference between a like World 150 guild and the World First guild is going to basically be exactly the same. I think there's a chance it gets bigger, but I don't think that's for sure going to happen, and I don't think it's going to get smaller. Both in terms of what add-ons are capable of doing and also their raid design. Max, how's your sister doing? She's good. She is making money now for the first time in her life. She was a med student. I mean, she's turning 30, or I think she just turned 30, and she has been in school since she was a kid, and she just now made it out of residency and like got her first like 2 or 3 paychecks or something, which is, I mean, that has to be such a crazy feeling. Because like you don't make any money as a resident. Like anyone you know that's like gotten out of med school, until they get through their residency, they are working insane amount of hours and making relatively very little money. And now she's making huge dollars. Max, what do you think about Blizzard widening the gap between Raiders and Mythic Plus only players by increasing the Great Vault loop up to 18 or so? Wait, what? Widening the gap between Raiders and Mythic Plus only players? I don't actually understand what you're even saying. So because Great Vault will now give you rewards up to Mythic Plus 18 in your vault, that is going to make... Isn't the normal argument like people are mad that Raiders get all this loot and Mythic Plusers don't? So wouldn't this actually narrow that, I guess? Isn't it right? At least that's like the normal complaint, I guess. I don't know. It's a troll. You need Mythic Raid loot to be able to do 18s. Well, I think what's going to be interesting this season is, for the first time, I think, ever, unless something major is changing that I'm unaware of, that it is going to be impossible to get the highest reward from your vault in the first week. I'm guessing on 2 things there. That I don't think 18s are going to be doable week 1. I don't actually know if that's true, by the way, but I'm just going to say that's probably... well, let's ask, could you do 18s week 1 of last season? Or any season since they made that change? I think that's like... 18s are like pretty high, right? Maybe, though. Okay, so if that's the case, I don't think people will care as much. Like, I think if there was this point that was attainable but barely attainable and only a few people got it, everyone would be mad. But basically, if no one was able to get the top rank right away, I think it's going to make people less mad because it's not like you're missing out on something. Also, yeah, also it's just a crest save. Yeah, which, I mean, basically, if you're mad about crest saves, then you're also just like, unless you're killing every single mythic boss in the first week, you're already like behind what is possible, but like no one can do that. I don't think anyone did that this entire expansion, right? So yeah, I think Dratnos had a point like that in our previous podcast. Here, what is this tweet? Okay, the amount of plus 17s timed in each week of the War Within. If tuning is like Season 2, it will be hard to do early. If it was like Season 3, not as hard. Season 1 was an outlier. I chose 17 because you can weekly no lever the 18. Have to time the 17 to get it. Sure. So let's see. How many weeks it took to reach 1,000 plus timed 17s per season. So War Within Season 1 and Season 2 was not possible. And then it took... wait, what does this mean? Does this mean 2... Oh, amount of 17s timed per week. So there was actually 2 17s total timed. Yeah, so basically in week 1, you're just not going to time... You're not going to get the max reward. It's just not a thing. Someone in chat says Mythic Plus is already the best source of gear and eye level. Raiders can't even cap crests or craft without grinding keys. Mythic Plusers have gaslit everyone into thinking we aren't all wearing eye level for Mythic Plus for 90% of our equipped gear, all progression. Raiders are lucky to get 2 pieces of Mythic raid gear before the end boss dies. Damn. True. There is also some bias in this since there was no incentive to complete them as they didn't increase rewards. True. True. But I don't know how much that would have changed at least week 1. Probably very slightly increasing, but week 2 and onwards I think would be a lot, yeah, because there'd be a reason to push for it. I also still think this is going to potentially... What I hope most people do is they think like, okay, rewards go up to an 18 now, but I don't think that's going to be worth it for me. I'm just going to do less than that. Similar to like Mythic Raid. Like I'm not going to kill the Mythic end boss in week 1, so I'm not going to be able to be fully capped out. I'm comfortable with something less than that. Because if I think people really try to like hard force 18s, I think they're going to get farmed crazy. And have a very bad time. Because it's the first time that the biggest Great Vault reward you could get was extremely difficult. I know that's like a relative term, but basically since the like weekly box in BFA came out and then it turned into the Great Vault, like what you've needed to do to get the max Mythic Plus reward was again, this is all relative, but very attainable from the very first week, right? And this is, let's just use the barometer of the high-level player. If you're a high-level player, it's super easy every single time. And now it's going to be basically impossible even for a high-level player. That's a pretty big shift. First time it's ever happened. Weekly box existed in Legion. Oh, shit. Why am I not thinking about that? The first time I remember it was doing the PvP box and the regular box in BFA. How did the weekly box in Legion work? Same as BFA? Item plus key. Same as BFA? Oh, shit. Dude, holy shit. Why was Season 3 so much easier than 2 and 1? Why specifically? Oh, it was because all those philosophy changes, right? Didn't they make just dungeons easier? Wasn't that the whole bit of this season? At least with their blue post. They were like... That's just how every X-Pack goes? Oh, like you just... Oh, I see. So the scaling stays the same, but over the course of an expansion, you scale harder than you do at the beginning. Is that a thing? Doesn't it kind of reset every time? You always have a lower gear in Season 1? Yeah, but like, okay, I get Season 1 for sure, because number 1, there's a heroic week, and there's not any mythic bosses available. That's a huge thing. Number 2, you're coming in with like questing gear. Like usually what happens at the beginning of a season is like everyone thinks the raid is too hard because they try to zone into heroic on day 1 of it being available with like literally questing blues where the gear that drops is like 40 eye levels higher, and they're like, the game's too hard. It's like, bro, you have nothing. You have no gear on right now. What's going on? But like going into Season 2 and Season 3, you have just good gear from Season 1, which is way better than questing blues relatively starting Season 1. So I don't see why those should be different. Unless, like, you scale secondary stats a lot. Yeah. But then, I don't they, like, kind of manually adjust the starting point of scaling every season, kind of trying to keep up with that? I guess, I mean, if you guys say it happens at the end of every expansion, I mean, probably is the reason for that. As a new WoW player who only wants to raid, do you think it is worth my time to grind out high eye level gear before the expansion, or am I wasting my time and should wait until it drops? Okay, so there's actually 2 answers to this question. So logically, you don't need to grind anything now. All of the gear you have now is going to be gone in the new expansion, and you're going to replace every single bit of it. So it would make sense to not do that. However, if you do really care about raiding, you want to get into as good of a guild as you can get into where like you're reasonably close to the average skill level of the guild. And to do that, you need to meet people and actually do things. So one thing you might want to do is like play the game now, make those connections, find a guild to raid it in the expansion. Because if you don't have one right now, right, which the fact that you're asking that question makes me know you even said this, but you're like very new. It's gonna be kind of hard to just like try to find a spot in a guild off rip in the expansion with no experience, right? I would just like, I mean, honestly, you should just like spam raids and Mythic Plus until you just get better at the game. I would definitely advise playing the game now for that reason, probably. I mean, Max, is there not a small chance a trinket from this expansion will be very strong early on with the stat squish? It's a non-zero chance. It's extremely small, though. When actually was the closest we were to using an old trinket in recent WoW times? So we almost used... we almost used Ink Pod on Denathrius. The Eternal Palace trinket. So what that trinket does, it just like stacks up. It stacks up like a dot on your target, and when the boss hits 30%, it explodes and does like a huge hit of damage. The reason why we almost used this for Denathrius was the P3 burn was the hardest part of the fight, and we were already stopping damage in P1 and in P2. So we thought about teching it out because it was technically the highest DPS trinket in the game in the last phase if you counted from 30% to 0. But like if we had enough people do that, it probably would have made killing ads in P2 a problem, so we never actually pulled the trigger on it. But it was a consideration. And that's a very rare like niche use. And also if they saw us doing that, they would have nerfed the trinket in like 2 seconds. Blizzard is like pretty aware of stuff like that. Something that you can also use too is like old cheat death trinkets, but if I remember correctly, they usually make those stop working after you level past them. Max, what's the best way to reach out to you? I want to show you something in terms of raid planning. I don't know. Max, how do you and the raid team prep for the race? Are you all in the beta/PTR trying the raid 100 times? Nah, you can't do that. You get 1 hour on each boss. Sometimes they retest it and you get a second. It's all theoretical planning. Thanks for your advice. As a follow-up, is there any system that I should educate myself in to be more advantaged whenever I go into raiding heroic? Nah, just play the game. It's not that deep. Just play the game. If you really want to fucking lock in, like, you can do the, like, play the game and then watch VODs of you playing. There's no better way to get better than, like, watch yourself play and identify mistakes you're making and solve them early before you make habits of them. But, like, low-key, just, like, play the fucking game, man. Don't do all that. As long as you're having fun. Did I miss the bad boss bracket? No, you didn't. I'm actually not going to do the bracket today. I'm actually just preparing for it. Basically, all I need to do is just list bad bosses, by the way. And I need to decide whether we're doing 32 or 64. So, actually, to start, how many... Let's just do this. Anyone know a bad boss? Just start listing them. Who's got a bad boss? Fractalus, okay. Skarn. Oh, it actually pains me to put that on the list, but yeah, all time. Yeah, all time. So since Mist of Pandaria. Stone Legion Generals, cool. Hellfire Assault. Halandris. Ooh, buddy. Spine of Deathwing, Nonsense Mop. Fate Scribe, ENR. Oh, ENR's a good one. Dream Council. Okay. Zakali. Sure. Blast Furnace. Yep. Famous bad boss. Brood Twister. Sure. Mythic KT. Oh, yeah, sure. Razageth. Oh, yeah, Razageth on Mythic was absolutely dog shit. But this will be a Mythic list as well. On Heroic, Razageth was amazing. Gallywix. Ooh, that's controversial, but I mean, that's the point of a bracket, right? You can just not choose it. There's a lot of people that really liked Mythic Gallywix. Mostly, though, I think just because it was an easy cutting edge, which is maybe not what this is about, but yeah. I guess P1 was kind of cool. Xavius. Xavius is actually a really cool boss. It was just too easy. That's kind of hard to... But I guess that's part of it, right? Prototype Pantheon. Oh, yeah. Mechatork. Bro. Gahoon, for sure. Spoils was awful. Ooh, I mean, I'll put that on here, but I think Spoils was amazing. I think Spoils is like the second best boss in that raid, actually. Is Jaina a hot take? You can have hot takes because you guys will be voting on it. Zool? Was Zool a bad boss or was it just the trash? Oh, Senarth, bro. I mean, we can probably just go through... You know what? Let's just launch WoW real quick. Let me just go through the Dungeon J. It'll probably be easier to just like go through each raid individually. Mithrax for melee. Bro, if you did... Mithrax on week 1 for melee was like super hard, and then they made it the most free melee boss ever. They just made it not target melee anymore. Hellfire Assault for sure. Yeah, it's already on there. Dark Animus. Yeah, some of these are not like objective bad bosses. They're like Dark Animus would be more positively reviewed than negative, at least in my circles. Like you guys said Unat. Like was Unat actually a bad boss or was it just like a really really hard boss that was released at like the worst possible time? You know? Actually, no. I think Unat was a bad boss. The fact that like almost all of the attempts on that boss were on a overtuned, bugged version of the fight means that like it was bad. Because like you could just judge it off the boss that was killed, but like that also just doesn't tell the whole story, right? Okay. Let's go back in time here. We're going for Miss Pandaria, right? All right. Motion Vaults. Any like super bad bosses in Motion Vaults? Nah. Heart of Fear. Okay. Some people hate Amber Shaper. I'm gonna put Amber Shaper on there. Will of the Emperor so ass? You know, I'll put down all the ones you guys are fringe on, and if we have too many, we'll just remove some. That is not how you spell Emperor. Help me spelling. Okay. There's one in the next raid that's really bad. Terrace. Yeah, Leishi, huge stinker. Okay, let's go to Throne of Thunder. Throne of Thunder does not have a lot of bad bosses. I mean... Dark Animus, people don't like it just because it was different and it was hard. But, I mean, it's kind of an insanely good raid fight. I mean, if you were not a daughter, Primordius was horrible. I mean, low-key Twin Emps kind of sucks. I don't know. Nothing super strong about that, though. Siege. Oh, Galacrass. Holy fuck. Galacrass, big stinker. These bosses were all fine. Dark Shaman, kind of annoying. I put spoils on the list, but like, this boss is great. Okay, let's go on. Warlords of Draenor, High Maul. Everything here's fine. Brackenspore? Brackenspore is great. Blackrock Foundry. We already have Blast Furnace. Really bad fight. I think Iron Maidens is really flawed, but it's pretty cool. Rest of this stuff has so much flavor that even if it isn't the best boss, it's like cool and different. Flamebender's kind of got nothing going on, actually. I mean, these are fine. These are fine. Hellfire Citadel. Okay, so we have Hellfire Salt on there already. Don't worry about it. This raid also had a lot of really good bosses, but like what boss in here is just bad? Dude, Warlords of Draenor, not a lot of bad bosses. There just weren't a lot of raids. All right, Emerald Nightmare. So, also, by the way, not a lot of bad bosses in Emerald Nightmare. They were just easy. I do have one thing that I didn't like. Two things, actually. Number one, actually, let's do some lore. Did you guys know that Elrith Renferal, when it was killed world first, so when it came out for NA, a guild went in there and killed it, and it accidentally had LFR HP, and they killed it before it even left the first platform, and then it was buffed to regular mythic HP for every other guild. Not super impactful. This raid was really easy. That guild didn't like get super far ahead or anything. Just like a random little nugget of information you maybe didn't have before, which is, I don't think that's ever happened before. But just some random shit. Ursoc was actually amazing. Awesome fight. Okay. Have we lived long enough to say that Cenarius was actually just bad? Because, okay, two parts about this boss. Number one, the whole Thorns thing of, like, you doing damage to yourself. That is never fun. There's no way to tune it. Certain classes just, like, fucking kill themselves. And then number two, this boss had, like, this Thorn ability, Nightmare Brambles or whatever, like, that were, that you could not tell who they were on, and it was really frustrating. So I'm actually going to throw Cenarius in there. Cenarius had some good shit going on, but I don't know. Okay. Trial of Valor. No bad boss in Trial of Valor. Honestly, Trial of Valor could go pound for pound against like basically every raid that's ever existed. This was a fucking masterpiece of a little small raid. Nighthold, also kind of a massive turbo banger. Everything in here is good. The early stuff like isn't like fantastic, but it's like it's got flavor, you know? Like Trilliax has like hella flavor. You could maybe put Trilliax on here, honestly, if we're trying to make a big list. But I'm starting to realize that there aren't that many actual bad bosses. Like bad bosses, right? Like to where what's the point of doing like a bigger bracket if it's just like Coughing Baby versus Hydrogen Bomb over and over again, you know what I mean? Yeah, Nighthold kind of slams. Tuma Sargeras. I mean, so Mistress was just really hard really early in the raid. Coughing Baby versus Hydrogen Bomb is literally what a bracket does. Bro, they're not being seeded. Random seeds. Pure chaos. Desolate Host and Kill Jaden are both ass. Uh, I don't understand the KJ hate. So like we were banned for 18 days during this raid, so we didn't do KJ when it was like crazy, crazy hard. We did it after it was like, I think we got world 11th on it. And we did it like after all the nerfs, and it was still world 11th, right? But like it wasn't like super late, and we experienced like this. Honestly, was an awesome boss. I think Kill Jaden was like a really, really good boss. Like I feel like the people who have the right to say that it was dog shit is like Method, who is fighting this boss and it had to be nerfed a million times. Like that would super suck. But for someone that got banned when all of that was happening and then came back after, which is how 99% of people interacted with the boss that killed it on Mythic, it was great. Like the whole soak thing is something that has been building up to this point, right? The Kill Jaden soaks were the straw that broke the camel's back, but it was just the straw, right? It's not like it was so offensive that it fucked everything up. It was kind of the whole raid. It was everything leading up to this point. I will say Desolate Host was a boss that had a lot of sauce to it, but it ended up just being like you tanked all the ads and ignored them, and I feel like that's like a pretty huge failure in boss design. But for a lot of people, that doesn't make a bad boss because you just kill it and don't think about it again. But for me, I call that a bad boss. So, Desolate Host. And also, I'm going to say Mistress. And it wasn't just because it's hard. I just think bosses where you have to, like, intentionally not AoE ads that are on top of the boss because they have to die at a very specific time is a cool level of difficulty in a way. But when classes who passively cleave have to, like, not even do their optimal single target because they're accidentally killing ads, that's just bad. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's the only, like, okay, Maiden of Vigilance does get some points for being bad, just because the world first kill of this boss didn't have tanks soloing the mechanic. They had the whole raid rotating, and they did the boss on like Giga Hard mode because Blizzard told them that if they were soloing the tank things, they would just keep buffing it until that was like no longer doable. So they like did it with their raid team, and then they killed the boss, and then everyone else in the world just did the tank shit, and it never got changed. Another nugget of information that's very funny. Also, back in the Wild West days of guilds breaking the rules all the time, go back and watch the world first kill of this, and there's like 3 of Zerup's characters in the raid. That's just it. I'm not saying they were doing something we weren't at all. We've done all that shit back then. This was kind of the last tier where anyone did all of that because they started banning the fuck out of you for doing it. But this was just a fun little history thing. Okay. Moving on. Antorus had a couple of stinkers. ENR, massive stinker. Garathi's fine. I think Very Mathras was kind of annoying. The bridge boss kind of sucked. I feel like Iminar was a cook, though. I feel like it was a nice cook. This Soul Hunter, whatever he's called. I mean, why does it suck, though? You know what I'm saying? I feel like it was good. Remix brains are in here. Oh, what happened with that? It's like any like kind of unique raid fight that you don't one shot is suddenly dog shit. Okay. Yeah, ENR deserves to be on this list. I don't think there's a lot of bad bosses in there, though. All right, let's move on to some more current shit. BFA, Old Year. I mean, Feta Devourer is just overtuned. But also, I think, like, kind of annoying. Like, almost no one could do, like, great damage to those things. Plus, like, the spread mechanic was, like, pretty ass for melee. This was the last raid where they really fucked melee. Like, honestly, melee has been very friendly in this game. This is also maybe a straw that broke the camel's back. Like, up until Old Year, the ideal amount of melee you wanted to bring to a raid was, like, 4 to 5. And it was because every single boss just punished you crazy for having too many melee. And then it was actually like right after this tier where they made melee friendly, like basically until now, where you've run the average melee you bring is like 6 to 7 now, and it used to be 4 to 5, and you've run up to 9 or 10 melee on fights in the past couple of years, which is crazy. Feta deserves to go on the list. Zekvaz, just an ad fight. Mother was actually really cool. Zool trash is bad. But is Zool bad? If you're a sub-rogue, Zool is bad because it ruined your class forever. Zool needing 5 rogues was bad. The world third kill of this boss had 1 rogue. So, factually inaccurate. Is Mithrax bad? I think Mithrax is great. But this has this weird duality of of like liking or hating this boss based on when you killed it. Right? If you killed Mithrax week 1, week 2, week 3, this was like super challenging for melee. If your melee were stacked on a very short timer, like every like 8 seconds or so, you would get MC'd and the pull would be over, which was really frustrating / really compelling and like really cool. And then after this point, depending on like how you looked at it, right? And then after this point, if you were a melee, this fight did nothing because it couldn't spawn on you anymore. So you actually you actually did nothing in this encounter. Nothing you did mattered. Which is good or bad, again, based on the way you look at it. If you want any kind of challenge, it's like, this fight's really boring. It's like, do you know what other boss is exactly like this? Fucking Brood Keeper, not Brood Twister. The second to last boss in Vault of the Incarnates. And some of you guys are immediately knowing what I'm talking about. If you were in the ad killing group in P1, every pull was such a vibe. And if you were one of the people who sat on the boss, it was the most boring dog shit encounter ever. You basically were just following the boss around doing absolutely nothing for like 4 minutes, just having other people wipe your raid. By the way, due to stuff you couldn't even see because they were just behind you. So you're just like, I guess the pull's over. I'll just do another pull of 3 minutes of doing absolutely nothing until we get into the last phase. So that's just like totally depend on what role you had. What's another one here? Where are we at? Oh yeah, so we're still in this. Is Gahoon a bad boss? All right. I think I'm just gonna say yes because enough people will tell you that they hated it, which some people will vote for it. But I don't know. It's kind of unique. Like, first of all, I don't think running the ball was like super bad. I think that was like kind of cool. I'm not a huge fan of the last phase or the first phase. I don't know. Let's put it's better. Just put it on the list. Someone will vote for it, so put it on the list. That's the rule. Battle of Zaralor. Not a lot of bad bosses in here. They were really easy. This is Battle of Zaralor's New Firelands, where basically all the bosses had crazy sauce and they were really unique and really well made, but they were just so easy that you never thought about them again. It's the Firelands problem. Now, one that people will talk about is Mechatork, and it's usually a heroic take. So, High Tinker Mechatork just required infinitely more coordination than a heroic boss should ever ask of you, and anytime someone's mad about this boss, they're almost exclusively referring to that, because Mythic of this boss had a nice flow, and more importantly, when you're doing a Mythic third-to-last boss, it is expected that you are in comms communicating, and if you are, that mechanic wasn't difficult. It was just cool and different, right? So if people are going to vote for it, I'll put it on the list. But I think it's the reason I kind of don't want to put it on there is I think people are just going to confuse it with the heroic version of the encounter. Okay, Stormwall Blockade. This boss is bad, right? What is... This is like a second to last boss. The things you're comparing Stormwall Blockade to in like recent memory or raids around there are like Zakul. You're comparing it to, well, I guess Carapace isn't that great. But like previous raid, like you're comparing it to like Agrimar and Manaroth and Grand Magistrix Elisand. Look at the second to last bosses leading up to this, by the way. Grand Magistrix Elisand. Fucking Manaroth. Agrimar. Great bosses, but also visually, like, awesome. Mithrax, by the way, really, really good fight. Not as visually cool as the other ones, but, like, a really good encounter. And then you have Stormwall Blockade. Honestly, complete fucking stinker in comparison. I think that deserves to go on there. I guess I'll make it easier. Yeah, exactly. This is a prime example of these two bosses should have been swapped. The second to last boss version of High Tinker Mechatork would have gone absolutely crazy. Okay, moving on. Crucible Storms. I guess these bosses happened, right? So I can talk about them. Restless Cabal was a really good fight. I'm going to put Unat on there if we didn't already. Just because I think a boss that was like that hard, but also mostly because of overtuning and bugs. That's just got to be super frustrating. And you might be like, oh, well, that only happened to like the top guilds who were pulling it. Who the fuck else was pulling this boss on Mythic? It dropped dog shit gear. And everyone else in the world that wasn't unemployed was just still doing Battle of Dazar'alor, so no one even did it. So those are basically the only people who even had an experience on this boss, so... I'd probably put Unat there because I think some of those people might vote for it, but it's probably going to get voted out pretty early. Okay, Eternal Palace. Okay, so a couple ones that stick out here right away. Not Savara. First boss. This is one of the best first bosses ever. Is Blackwater Behemoth actually bad? I know everyone was like... oh, they're going to do an underwater boss. It's going to be... was it really that bad? Like, I feel like... Here's my issue. If you put Blackwater Behemoth on the list, it's going to go pretty far in the rankings, and it's purely because of the narrative surrounding this boss before it was ever released. Like, I genuinely don't believe anyone did Blackwater Behemoth for the first time and was, like, hating their life. It's really just it's an inoffensive, easy early boss. The fact that it's underwater is not a big deal. It's just not nearly as bad as people were expecting, and people are going to rank this based on the concept, personally. Like, it's not a good boss, but, like, I feel like it's going to get... I mean, fuck it, I'll put it on there, whatever. Radiance of Ashara, inoffensive boss. Ashvane owns. Orgazoa owns. Queen's Court owns. I think Zakul and Asara should both go on this list. So Zakul is actually like one of my favorite bosses ever. But you stop DPS for almost a minute of this fight as soon as you pull it. There's 70% of your raid are DPS players. There's just no way that can be true, and that is not on a bad boss list. It's just the way it is. And I'm going to put Ashara on there too. So I think I kind of liked Ashara until, like, obviously it was left in that state for too long, but I think the decree thing was something that was really cool in concept, but the fact that it was figured out and just basically it just turns into a weak aura telling you to go to a marker and do a thing is not... that takes points away. Plus, this was a Dispel boss. And even Warlocks had to Dispel, and it was a line of sight boss, and I think line of sight is just a terrible mechanic, and people will vote for it, so put it on there. and a super long P1. Oh, such a good point. Oh my god. You're so smart. I completely forgot about that. This is one of the examples of a boss that, like, this first phase can exist in heroic, whatever, but they should have night-holded this boss, where when you did Gul'dan, it just didn't do that lore-based heroic P1. It just got right into the fight. This boss should have started in P2 100%. You're exactly right. That's another huge knock to it. Are we going to make a March Madness bracket for this? Yep. This is just the preparation of it. Nyalotha. Nyalotha, I think, actually had a few stinkers. So Zanesh, I feel like people will vote for just because you just had to rely on a certain amount of people. Also, this was like the worst boss to farm because if any of your soccer ball kickers weren't there, you just wiped like 5 times until the new person got it. It was just like one of those very unique roles that you could never sit someone for, and that's like really frustrating. But also, like, I'm glad they did it though. I think like bosses like this are really cool. Like, I basically don't want to vote these as bad because I think Blizzard should be encouraged to try stuff like this. Okay, I'll put it on there. Zanesh, and then also, so I think Maut low-key sucks ass. It's a damage reflect fight. If you've ever just popped all your cooldowns and gotten one shot on this fight, you'll say it's the worst boss ever because it's just bad. Shadhar, inoffensive. I mean, I feel like Drestagath isn't. It's like, what are you doing? Skitra was really bad. Yeah, honestly. Skitra, Drestagath. I think also Il'gynoth. I don't know how you spell this, actually. Scrolling down. I'm just not even going to... I went down to see it just to not spell it right. I don't care. Il'gynoth, specifically, no dispel strat. I will stand on all 10 toes and tell you that Il'gynoth, when you actually dispelled the debuffs properly, which I think only, like, maybe less than 10 total guilds did. Actually, no, I think it ended up being a discussion later in farm whether you would do the dispel or no dispel strat, but regardless, I will stand on all 10 toes and tell you that if you did the dispel strat on this, meaning you dispelled frequently, I think Il'gynoth is actually one of the best bosses of all time. It was extremely fucking good. But if you did the no dispel strat, you basically were just all fighting a boss with a circle around you, and as soon as anyone died, it chain reactioned and killed every single person, and it felt like you were making no progression, and it would just be a jump scare and everyone would die at random intervals because one person made a minor mistake. Just a terrible fight. Fight sucked with both strats? Nah, untrue. Oh, the dispel strat's goated. Vexiona was fine. Rodem was fine. Carapace. Okay, so Carapace P3, banger. Just straight up banger. But I feel like P1 and P2 were not only extremely easy, but I mean, they were visually like kind of sick. Maybe. I'll put Carapace on there. Dude, surprisingly, surprisingly, this raid has a lot of bad bosses. Like, bosses you cannot like. Honestly, low-key, can we just put the hole on this? Did anyone else do no-hole runs? Like when you did Nyalotha clears and farm and you just refused to jump down the hole? Those bosses, like, just getting to those bosses was so not worth it that you just turbo skip it. And that includes a few of these fights. What were the 3 bosses down there? Was it Drestagath, Shadhar, and it was Drestagath, Shadhar, and Il'gynoth. I think these in a row right here. These 3. Moving on. All right, we're on super recent expansions. Castle Nathria. What kind of bad bosses exist in Castle Nathria? Shriekwing bangs, Huntsman bangs. Sun Kings doesn't bang, but it's a healer fight, and I don't think it's really offensive to the people who like aren't healers. I know healer balance wasn't good for this. You wanted to play like a few specific ones. I just don't think it really matters. Artificer Zymox is a turbo banger. Hungering Destroyer, turbo banger. Dark Vein can only really be considered bad because of what it could have been, honestly. Like, I think there's just a way cooler version of this fight. I don't think it was, like, super offensive, though. Council of Blood's really polarizing, actually. I think Council is, like, a extremely good fight. It's got theme. It's got really cool mechanics. The fact that you can do it in different orders, and throughout Farm, there was, like, a correct decision to do different orders at one point, I just found really fun. That being said, we were in a position where we were able to like try the different orders, and a lot of other people, it's not cool that there's a different order to the fight if you just always do the same one. So the dance thing was stupid. I mean, okay, but I also think that has a little sauce to it, you know? The Spirit Shell tier. Oh yeah, this fight was dominated by Spirit Shell. I just don't. I mean, I'll put it on the list because some people will call it bad, but I think Council Blood is good. Sludge Fist, all-time great encounter. Stone Legion Generals is already on the list, and it's probably going to win. But even if we know the winner, I think the actually Stone Legion Generals versus Hellfire Assault might be close. But a lot of the conversations when we're choosing between two will be fun. Sidon Nather is one of the best bosses of all time. Sanctum of Domination. Terragru is actually an awesome first boss. Eye of the Jailer, inoffensive, fine second boss. Same thing with the 9. Remnant and Soul Render are both bangers. And then Painsmith owns. So something often forgotten in how weird of a time it was to play WoW during this time of the game. And how the end of this raid ended up. Honestly, Terragru through Painsmith, you can stack that up against almost every raid that's ever existed for like bosses 1 through 6 through like the mid-raid wall boss. They're crazy good. Really good. All these bosses own. Okay, moving on. I don't think Guardian can go on this list. Basically, the only reason people think Guardian sucks is because it came after Sludgefist, and Sludgefist like reinvented what the late raid single target boss quality standard is. And this boss actually had a lot going on. It was just too easy. So you basically can only dislike Guardian of the first ones because it like wasn't as good as Sludgefist. That's like actually it. Okay. And then Fate Scribe. Yeah, I mean, Fate Scribe's not a good fight. Did I already put it down? No. Fate Scribe. I will say this is another fight, I think, where Heroic is going to influence opinion a lot. This is, I think, really similar to High Tinker Mechatork, actually. Not only are they in the exact same spot in the raid, but it's just a Heroic encounter that requires significantly more coordination / a weak aura that you would normally need for a Heroic encounter, and it just it caused a lot of friction. I don't think Fate Scribe, now, as opposed to Mechatork, I don't think Fate Scribe was a good Mythic boss. But it also wasn't that bad. Like, Heroic was much worse than Mythic, I think, because the expectation was just a lot farther off. Did you put Remnant on that list? No, I think Remnant is great. Please tell me you did. Okay, so Remnant, I'm assuming this being a bad boss purely has to do with the mechanic that when you dispel it, it does a knockback. Remnant stinks? Bro, Remnant does not stink. Do you guys think Remnant stinks? half those bosses need to be on this list. Guys, this Sanctum hate is so forced. Like, I'm here with you. I get it. I think criticizing this patch, criticizing Sanctum is fine. The first 6 bosses fucking go in. Those bosses go the fuck in. But if some people feel very strongly about it, I'm not opposed to putting it on there because it can simply just not lose a 1v1. All good. Spell queue bullshit. Ooh, facts. Actually, it did have very bad spell queuing issues. Okay, Sepulcher. Okay, now, some of y'all are going to get real excited, and you're going to say Vigilant Guardian. This, we just... Oh, you forgot to add KT. No, sorry, KT's already on the list, boys. KT already on the list, and I did not include Sylvanas. I don't think Sylvanas is one of the worst bosses in this game. Sylvanas cooked on Mythic. P1, P3 are awesome. P2 in Mythic did not need to be like exactly what it was, but again, this is a heroic issue. Like, heroic P2 Sylvanas, all-time dog shit. Mythic just isn't the same. It's a lot more compelling. Okay. Sepulcher. Vigilant Guardian, same issue. Vigilant Guardian on Heroic is straight up Hellfire Assault. All-time dog shit fight. On Mythic, you just simply fight the big guy right away and you're just cleaving ads on top of a boss. This fight is, I think, like, perfectly fine. And unless some of you guys really hate it on Mythic, I'm kind of opposed to putting it on the list because I just know people are going to vote for the heroic version of the boss, which is not the point. Max, but we included other bosses for having a bad heroic version. Which ones? Oh, this list is way too long. We're not doing that. I mean, Mechatork... We mentioned that some people didn't like it on Mythic, though. Right. Like, basically, some bosses were problematic to be put on the Mythic thing. I just said I was a little bit hesitant to put it on there because I feel like the vote will be swayed by Heroic. Right. I don't know. Whatever. Vigilant Guardian. Can always remove. Okay. I feel like Skolex wasn't awesome. But I don't know if it sucked. It was just there. Artificer Zymox, second time through. Fine, right? DeSausage. I think the only real I don't like DeSausage take is it's just like able to be fought really early with these bosses, and it was just a lot harder than the other ones around it. Okay, Prototype Pantheon's already on the list. Don't even have to ask about it. I'm opposed to putting Lihivam on the list because I fucking loved this fight. But we were the people who got to strategize it, so I'm biased. Because, like, if you're not us, you just did the strat that was laid out for you, and I don't think that was super interesting at all. I mean, I don't know, like, the little damage burns were, like, kind of okay. I don't know if, like, I don't know. How do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about Lihivam on Mythic specifically? I'm going to assume it's just, like, average fight, but not like, super cool. If you guys don't hate it, I'll probably need to leave it off. Okay, Halandris. I think Halandris is one of the best fights of all time. However, there are two very different Halandris encounters. There is the Halandris encounter that was just nuclear hard, but fair, right? And and that's the boss I'm talking about. But like, if you killed Halandras after the nerf, where they made these bombs 30 seconds long, I mean, maybe it was just so easy at that point that you wouldn't care enough to hate it. But I don't know. Is there not? I mean, it was basically just like it's almost like, oh, I'm disappointed I wasn't able to do this other thing. I don't know. I can't have that opinion because we didn't do that, right? I just don't know how other people feel about it. I feel like putting Halandras on this list is just going to instantly get voted out. So what are we even doing here? Okay. Anduin Rin. So this one's going to have to go on the list for a few reasons before I even explain them. But so I think Anduin might have killed more guilds than any boss in WoW's history. And anyone who was involved in anything like that will naturally blame the fight. And the fight was asking too much of you. It was not only requiring a shitload of assignment weak auras, but it was specifically asking you to do the thing that is like the hardest for guilds to do. And it's not like doing enough damage or healing or whatever. It's literally just having a CC rotation, and if you fuck it up, you instantly fucking die. You don't die 5% later to where you can keep learning the fight. It's just over. And I think for most people, their experience killing Anduin was like really negative. I think Anduin is like an awesome fucking fight. Like aesthetically, lore-wise. If you're in a high enough guild where a CC rotation isn't going to fuck you up every pull, this fight was just really cool. Obviously, a little unfortunate that like when it died, it like the things bugged out in the last phase, but I think this is one of those fights where someone could genuinely argue that it's like one of the best fights ever, and someone else could argue that it's the worst fight ever, and both of them, their own reasons would make them right. But I think because you have to put it on the list. You can't just absolutely massacre the amount of raiding guilds in the game and not be put on here, right? Because like clearly something is wrong with that. Okay. Lore-wise, what? Bro, have you seen the intermission on Anduin? Okay. Lords of Dread. This fight just isn't good, right? They did the whole bit where like they have two bosses in a damage amp, but they like randomly handpicked spells that were buffed by 200% to where one of the best, one of the specs that is designed to specifically do well in two target was Frost Mage, right? They have like, not only do they get more procs when you're hitting multiple targets, but they have Splitting Ice back then where like your ice, I actually don't even remember the name of that fucking spell, but the thing splits into two and it like cleaves two things, and historically you're great sustained 2-target damage for 10 years. But it was terrible on that fight because it specifically wasn't buffed by those abilities. So like random classes just had certain abilities go crazy and were really good. Ice Lance? Yeah, Ice Lance. Yeah, they I don't know, I just think that's bad. And then on top of that, I mean, okay, so is the intermission really that bad where you have to do the Among Us thing? Like, I think this is another heroic fight where, like, on heroic, that's super fucking annoying. But on mythic, so guilds handled this a few different ways. A few guilds figured out, like, an auto-solver weak aura. We actually didn't have that. And we just did it natty through all of progression. And I don't think it was that hard to do or bad. Personally, I'm not a huge, I don't hate it. I think on heroic, if your main interaction with this boss was on heroic, you will hate that for sure because it was asking too much of you. You're not wrong about that. I have another issue with this. The intended kill for this boss was killing it like 30 seconds past in rage, where the boss just like melees you and you have to come up with like a really weird way to kill it. And I just think anytime that happens, that's just bad. Like, you should basically design a boss to be killed. And then, like, you can ramp up the difficulty in some other way, but, like, the fact that you just, like, immuned melee attacks for that long is just, like, I don't know. I just feel like that's, like, probably specific to, like, our guild or, like, people that are doing it at the top, but I just feel like pretty much, you can increase difficulties in other ways. That's like a really weird niche way to kill a fight. You like soft enrages? Me too. This is not one of those. Okay, so yeah, I'll put it on there. Fuck it. Okay, Rygalon. Absolute turbo banger. Can't be on the list. Jailer, good fight. Actually, really problematic fight, but I think overall pretty good. Okay, on a Dragonflight. Vault of the Incarnates. There are some bad bosses in here for sure. So, Senarth we already put there. I think Taros is an awesome fight. Aranog, fine first boss. Primal Council... I don't think people are going to dislike this because it was just easy to kill on Mythic and it dropped like a super Biss trinket. But low-key, it's just mechanic vomit. Like, none of this stuff actually matters. It's just like shit's happening all over your screen. But it was so easy that it's kind of inoffensive. A lot of people disliked Dathia. I think Dathia deserves to go on there. We already have Senarth on the list. Kurog... I would put on there personally because I just think it's... They could have just cooked so hard with this boss, but they forgot all the ingredients. But doing this boss on progression and on farm is just like a pretty steady pace moving fight that's like pretty fun to do over and over again. It's one of the best healer fights of all time. And it's, as far as fun is concerned. And for DPS players, it's like inoffensive. So... yeah, really good. Oh, the only small problem on Kurog, I will say, that like might deserve a spot on the list based on what guild you're in, is to make the entire fight function, you have to do a tank swap at an exact, not frame perfect, it's like probably 20 or 30 frames, where the boss has to be dragged across a line at the beginning, and if you mess that up, if your tank messes that up, it's instantly a wipe. And that's pretty fucking stupid, right? The fact that was like always that way, I think that's really, really bad. That's like, but I think the rest of the fight was fine enough to where you don't put it on the list. Okay, Broodkeeper. I'm going to put Broodkeeper on the list if I haven't already. Even though I think Broodkeeper was about as good of a boss as they could have made as a second to last boss where the concept is meme ad fight, which they should never do if they can help it. It's just, if you were a boss-hitting player during P1 of this fight, it's possible you've never actually been more bored on an encounter, so it has to be on there. And then Razageth's already on here as well. Aberrus. We put Zakali on there. We put Skarn on there, even though Skarn fucking owns, but I know why it's on there. Magmarax. Oh, Echo of Notharian. Holy shit. Yeah, Echo of Notharian big time. Does Magmarax deserve to be on there? Because, like, I feel like everyone looked at Magmarax as, like, this dog shit fight. Compare this to Sludge Fist. It's, like, whatever. It's, like, so simple. But, like, okay, plus sides of Magmarax. Great healer fight. Simple to understand. It's really simple to execute, but every guild just wiped more on this fight than they thought they were going to, so it like has some hidden complexities to it. I mean, basically, I think that like the biggest negative of Magmarax is it's just a what could have. It's not that the boss they gave you was absolutely terrible. It's just like what could have been. Kind of. If it was easy, why did Liquid not one-shot it? Yeah, I mean, exactly. We basically were like, we did like 3 pulls of this boss, figured it out, came up with the kill strat, and then every pull from that pull onwards until we killed it on like pull 20 was like, we're the worst guild of all time. We just lost the race. This boss is so easy. We should have killed it in 3 pulls. And then we woke up the next day to find out that every other guild also took 30 pulls on this boss and hated their life and thought that they were also dog shit. And then that continued to happen to every guild ever. And it turns out Magmarax is just a little sneaky harder than everyone thought it was. It's just one of those fights. Magmarax. Put it on there. Has some bad things about it. Well, we're getting close. Amir Drasil. We already have Council of Dreams. I think Volcaros, but like it just died. It just had LFR HP. Like, I don't know. Agira, Gnarlroot's fine. Agira's fine. Volcaros is fine. Some people might really dislike Larodar. I thought Larodar was awesome. I think like I would love for them to do more things like this. I kind of don't want to put Larodar on there unless anyone like absolutely hates it. Naimu, what's the biggest issue with Naimu? People said it was like visual clarity. But I thought this boss was also like pretty fine. Smolderon. I think Smolderon was pretty good. Tindril. So, I mean, I think Tindril's one of the best bosses ever. Same with Fyrakk. But I do know that some people absolutely hate Tindril. Do you put anything in your hair like wax? No. Genuinely, wake up, hit a little of that, and we just go through our day. Every day. That's it. Anything with dragon riding is automatically bad. Really, though? I mean, I thought that would be the case, too. Like, you knew they were going to do a dragon riding boss, but I think both times they implemented this, actually, they did it pretty well. But that is just me. Yeah, Fyrakk's great. All right. Last 3 raids. Nerebar Palace. First 3 bosses are fine. Actually, Olgrax... I feel like Olgrax is kind of not fine. Just the fact that you're like... You have to stand on like the opposite side of the room. And yeah, I think Olgrax is like not great. Bloodbound Horror is great. Sikran's great. Rashinan... I mean, it's just like... It's just easy, but that's not bad. You run around a lot, but in a way that's like kind of unique. You don't... There's not really another WoW fight like that. You could blame Rashinan on Brood Twister. Sorry, you could blame Brood Twister on Rashinan. Like the fact that Brood Twister was as big of a problem is partially Rashinan's fault, which is definitely true. Brood Twister's already on the list though. Okay. I don't think Rashinan should be on there, honestly. I would put Nuxus Princess on there. Fucking ass fight. All right, Soaking Court though. People are gonna type Soaking Court. Put that on there. Liberation of Undermine. Do we have Styx? Not yet. Okay, Styx. Vexy's awesome. Cauldron's awesome. I actually don't think Cauldron's gameplay is that awesome, but the theme carries it crazy. Rick Reverb also has a lot of sauce, but I just don't like this fight at all. I'd put Rick Reverb on there. Max, who disliked Silken? Not me, but pretty much everyone I've ever heard type about Silken that is not me is like, I hated progression on this fight. You just do the same thing over and over again. Rotate, dance-ass Final Fantasy bullshit. Let's say shit like that. Sprocket, Monger, Lock and Stock's good. One Arm Bandit's good. Mugsy's good. Chrome King Gallywix. We put Gallywix on here. But yep. Okay. Last raid. And then we need to see how many actual we got. I feel like Lumathar was like... Was Lumathar bad, or was it just like really hard compared to everything around it? You know? Oh no, Lumathar is definitely bad. Like, Lumathar had like the really weird... The thing I hate about this fight is the circles. Like, circle spawns, and like the timing of that is like really bad. Yeah, let's do Lumathar. Also, can never forget that they straight up stole this boss from Terrasland. Put that on my life. Okay, Soulbinder is bad. It's just really easy. Like, it's just so uninspired. It's just nothing for until it's over. But it's not bad. It's just because it's just too easy. But I don't know. All right, Forge Weaver. So Forge Weaver was really hard early, but like I feel like Forge Weaver cooks a little bit. I feel like Forge Weaver actually it's got some flavor, looks cool, has like a nice fight cadence. Okay, if you hate Forge Weaver, why do you hate it? I have two guesses. Number one, the CC rotation in your guild wasn't very consistent. It just felt like it was too hard. That doesn't make sense to me unless you were doing one thing. I imagine the guilds... Actually, here's what I would guess. Raid planning this. Mana Forge. Forge Reaver Raz. Okay. My guess is guilds who hate this have a larger amount... will proportionally have a lot more... guilds that decided to do this. When you dropped off these ads, so the strat and progression was to put them here and then you typhooned them away, which was just adding a lot of coordination for a gain, but a gain that was no longer worth that level of difficulty very early in progression. Like probably from like week 2, you should have just put them behind, had no assignment, and just stunned them when they got under the boss. And I bet if your guild put them in front, I bet you just had a really bad fucking time. Like, I bet you were just wiping to that over and over again. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna guess that's why. I mean, I don't know. A few people typed Forge Weaver sucked. I'm not opposed to putting Forge Weaver on the list because it'll just lose early, you know? If enough people actually think it's good. Soul Hunters, I actually think is like one of the better council fights they've made in a really long time. Fractalist stinks. It's already on the list. Next King's great. Demencius is great. All right, we did it. How many did we do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Ooh, okay, we're going to get closer to 64 than I thought. I think we're going to run out here really quick. 51, 52, 53. 53, and we have to make a bracket. So with brackets, it's 32 or 64, right? So we have the choice of adding in like 10 not super bad bosses. Or we could cut it down to 32, which I feel like cutting it down to 32 would be pretty hard. So I don't think removing is the play. So You can just do buys for the true ass bosses. You can do 48 with buys. Yeah, that kind of... See, I'm probably going to use a website for this, and I don't really know how to do that really well. What the fuck is this song? It's creep but bad? Okay. You could include kata bosses to get to 64. You could. The farther back you go, it gets a little bit more unrelatable. I just wonder how many... I mean, there are some notable bad bosses. So, like, Spine... Rest of Dragon Soul is actually pretty good, but maybe Madness. Fireland's all bangers. And then it's basically just tier 11. I don't think you can get 10 bosses from here. This is so bad. I'm sorry, I'm changing this. There's more than just Spine from Dragon Soul. Really? I think at least Morchok through Yorsaj and Zanaz. I think these are awesome. I think Ultraxian's awesome. And I think War Master's awesome. Hagara's kind of a question mark, maybe? You're going to have 32 bosses that go out first round in a 64 bracket. I think it's okay to have some okay bosses go out in the first round. It's what they're there for. How many did we end up having? 54? 53, something like that? I mean, yeah, I think what we'll do... I mean, I'll just add... I'll add one kata boss. For fun, just because I think Spine will make it up there for sure. And then we'll just add 10, like, non-offensive, okay bosses. Spine might win the whole thing. Well, then it deserves to be on the list, doesn't it? All right, so that's pretty much all I needed to do. Let's take a second and browse the WoW Reddit or Comp WoW Reddit. I never do this. Oh yeah, the Resto Shaman Discord is getting deleted. What's the reasoning? Sorry for the ping. With the recent retirement of the majority of the admin team, including myself, and the lack of desire that to continue putting in the work that a server of this size requires, we've decided to delete the server. We will lock down the channel soon and delete the server within a day or two. Okay. Counterpoint. Social experiment. We do a Resto Shaman Discord with no mods and no upkeep whatsoever and just wait a year and just see what happens. Just like see where it goes. I go on some class discords and there's a handful of guys who just sit there talking to one another all day long. I didn't even know that was a type of guy that existed. The day-long Discord discusser. Oh, yeah, those people are very real. I mean, it's really not that complicated. Those are just their friends. That's their community. They, for one reason or another, have connected with people in that Discord over something they enjoy, like a WoW class, and those are just their friends. That's what they do for entertainment, to have social interaction. You're always going to have that. More like 2 minutes. It's gone as of writing this post. Damn, bro. That's fine. Not sure why we needed a spin-off from the main Shaman Discord anyways. Oh, is this the actual, Yeah, they, like, broke off. I remember... Dude, wasn't Mavie a part of this? I think he... I remember, like, there was basically a coup within the Resto Shaman, like, community where... Like, I guess the people who were running it on the main or main class Discord, like, a bunch of people broke off and made their own one. Max, why are so many Discord mods such whiny babies? For two reasons, and the main one is, and I'm guessing here, is probably because they have to deal with a lot of bullshit and they make no money to do it. Right? Like, they have to do a lot of cleanup and deal with a lot of repeat questions and, like, bot attacks and all kinds of annoying ass shit around the clock, and they get paid nothing, so they're naturally jaded about it. And then every now and then there seems to be some kind of correlation between being a Discord mod and being like a person who seeks out some form of power who shouldn't have it. I don't know. I don't know why that seems to be the case or whatever. That's not the main reason though. Like, I think some people are just like assuming all mods are like that. I don't think that's true, right? I think it's like a pretty thankless job that requires a lot of work and you get nothing out of it. But then there are also those people too. The other reason is because nobody wants to be a mod unless they have some weird personality trait. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, it worked for Rhett. This is really good. I actually was hoping that this was more spicy, and it was just them saying, yeah, we're shutting down the server because we're not happy with the direction of our class," as like the Rhett Pally thing. Hey, I came across that and I wanted to highlight it. Targeted spells for midnight. In my opinion, the single most important thing to know when doing keys is when and what is targeting you. It probably depends on what key level you're in. If you're just doing like weekly 10s right now for gear for your vault, you don't need to know when a shadow bolt is on you. It doesn't matter. The high keys though, it's like insanely important. This like scales so crazy with key level. The importance of having something like this. Data mined, Mythic Mana Forge, or Mega Nurse for Midnight pre-patch. That's not really important, right? There's like a stat squish, so they have to do some shit. Ooh. I hope Blizzard leans more into Gallywix and less into Dimensius for Midnight. I know this is a popular theory amongst some people. I'm going to read this in a second. I'm going to grab some water, though. You don't understand the Mythic Raiders that like easy bosses? Really? I mean, you know that a strong selling point for Classic over the years has been that you can get the best gear in the game for very little effort. I feel like that's just true, right? That is something that people cite as a reason they like it. Isn't that just exactly the person you're describing? Why do people that are into Mythic like easy bosses? Well, they like to get the best gear without much resistance. There are absolutely people like that. Not to say that's the only reason. That's often sometimes cited as like the only reason people like easier content is because they just want free rewards, right? Some people just, you could have the opinion that it's just too hard in general. Makes sense. Mythic Galactus is a great experience to prog. I had a fun P1 that clearly could show how raid groups could learn incrementally without too many frustrating points. The biggest fail to fight was that P2 was lamer or easier in comparison to other final bosses, but overall it was one of the best end bosses experience I've had in a while. There's room or space to do mechanics without making it feel like one of those moments where one person had 1 second too late and you wiped. On the other side of the coin, we have Mythic Dimensions was one of those frustrating P1s I've played in recent memory. Orbs were really punishing, but it's such a big burden on them. Was frustrated because they couldn't get further in a fight. To explain myself, healers were pushed from a knockback. They had to burst heal in order to survive the next mechanics. They had to constantly heal back the damage from the circle. Then they had to move out. Yeah, so a lot of the stuff this guy is citing could actually be, in quotes, fixed in the expansion with like they made like pretty massive healer changes, honestly. They might scale out of it again, but I think it'll, at least at the beginning of the expansion, it should feel a bit different. This is all like, you get bursted really hard and you have to heal it back instantly. That should just simply be less of an issue, this expansion. However, if your healers aren't as good, though, where last expansion you might have just not been able to burst heal through the things, you're going to die more to attrition. Like, healing's still going to matter. It's just going to be more spread out, right? And then, like, because you have less good healers, your raid's going to be lower and then play worse. All of this might have just been seen as simple mythic mechanics from a tenured mythic raider, but for me, we meant to have to wait until healers could consistently pull off hard. Yeah. This doesn't mean, however, the dimensions is bad. I just think the fun I had in prog during Mythic Galley with my guildmates cracking jokes and being generally chill was the high point. Yeah, I've heard that before. There's a guy in my... I think there's a guy that's typing now. Alarkin. Last time we talked about this, he had this take that like he liked Mythic Galley more than like that level of difficulty and explained it pretty well. So I definitely know there's a amount of people. I'm interested to see what the comments say. Feel free to disagree, though. I know a big chunk of players in the higher end would think that difficulty is where the fun is derived, particularly in raids. I personally think that difficulty and frustration don't have to be so closely linked. True. I think there's another issue, too, where... And I don't really know if there's a way to fix this, especially in, like, a game that's been out for this long, but, like, it's the difficulty thing. Like when you're doing a normal boss, no matter what normal boss you're doing, you kind of get the point. And they're all very close in difficulty. A little less true with Heroic, but still true. In Mythic, like, the difficulty range of Mythic is fucking insane. Like, the first boss versus the last boss and what it is asking of you. Not even counting, by the way, the, like, how hard a Mythic end boss is on week 1 versus when people actually kill it. I mean, just in general, is just such a massive, massive difference that trying to fit all of that... This is... A lot of these issues just come from trying to call all of these things the same difficulty when they're not, right? Let's see what the comments say. I think Galax is a fine boss. From a difficulty point of view, is undertuned because Blizz thought an empty dungeon journal would handicap guilds. The journal only affected the race. Every other guild just uses guides and logs from the guilds that got there before them. From a design point of view, it's a little meh. It lacked a grand finale. Yeah. I actually do agree with this. I think Blizzard vastly overestimated how difficult killing a boss would be, with just the main difficulty being you don't know what's going to happen. For sure. That's the kind of stuff that, like, we do this literally for a living. We're going to do that shit instantly. It was very fun, though, for literally only us. I can't say it was fine, sadly. P2 was way too long for that amount of stuff happening. Oh. Sorry, the doorbell rang and I knew they were going to start barking crazy style, so 1 second. All right, I think they gave up. How would Demencius have been with no journal but same difficulty? I'm making this the fuck up, but it takes another quarter of a day to kill it, maybe. Especially an end boss. Because, like, you never get testing on that boss anyway, and while you do have the dungeon journal, you can only foresee if a few ways a certain thing might go. But the reality is that the heroic dungeon journal always exists in these situations, so you're still coming up with, okay, you look at a heroic boss, even if there's no mythic journal. Okay, if they were going to make a mythic version of this mechanic, what would it look like? And then you can pre-strategize for all of those things, right? It wasn't just easy, it was stupid easy. Muggsy and most of the raid after reverb took us pretty typical number of pulls. Wouldn't Echo win then? Because they would benefit more from your pulls. No, by the time you're on an end boss like that, you're not just like ahead of them and they're just gaining speed the whole time. You go to sleep and you wake up with information, and then you go to bed and you give them information, and that happens. So even if there's no dungeon journal, there's still the same thing is still happening. It wouldn't change that at all. It's a weird comparison because Gallywix is generally considered to be a relatively easy final boss, and it's kind of telling when you say that most of the fun of progging Galley was basically just hanging out. It's certainly a lot of whiplash to go from that to Dimmy, one of the harder bosses Blizzard has made. To me, Dimmy is closer to what a mythic boss should be, and especially a last one. Hard execution checks are fine, especially in P1, where going again is pretty quick. I was surprised about this post because the bigger issue is the hard class requirements. Yeah, there is actually quite a few hard class requirements on Demencius, which is under talked about. Yeah, I mean, I think this person's post is really, really good. He's basically just like, yeah, like the reality is like, oh, it's so fun to just hang out on an end boss. Well, yeah, if an end boss is like hard, you're not gonna be able to hang out. So basically, what you're asking for, like, I've found it hard to ever find like a lot of takes that really surgically dive into like what bosses are asking you to do. Like, there can be two hard bosses that are hard in different ways, and one is good and one is bad. A lot of this take is I just wish end bosses were not as nuclear hard. They were just like a little easier. And I don't think that's like a bad take either. Like you could, if a boss is like slightly easier to where it is like more fun, it still takes some time for you, but it's more reasonable, and also you can have more fun and you're less stressed out when you're doing it. Of course you're gonna have more fun. That just sounds more fun, doesn't it? That's all you're saying. It's not like super complicated. It's just, yeah. Wait, there's like 0 healing needed during the pull downs, and that's probably intentional. That's not true, right? Aren't you doing the second devour of P1 while you are dragging down a lot of people? I don't know what actually kills you now, because usually what killed us in progression was actually the last ads that spawn that you just ignore and burn through. Those ones were just randomly killing people, but I also don't know if that's an issue now, because not only do you have more gear and more HP, but those ads were bugged, and they were firing multiple times at the same time, which was not intended. Demencius front loading. Personally, I'd rather have more Demencius than Galley difficulty fights. Galley P1 was good, just P2 is a dud. Demencius front loading a lot of the challenge was good, and IMO was a good, well-tuned last boss. IMO 250 pulls or so is a good spot. It's supposed to be the hardest content in WoW. It should be some level of challenging, right? Well, some level of challenging is obviously 230 was the low end for Demi. 300 was closer to the average. I mean, I think 300 pulls being the average for a cutting edge end boss is objectively too long, right? Like, not talking race world first stuff. Like, typically bosses in the race that are killed like 300, 400 pulls, when you're looking at late tier cutting edge kills, they're like a quarter of that or like half, right? I actually kind of struggle to believe that anyone that's killing an end boss in the last like month of an expansion or a month of a season is like at pull 300 of a boss and is like, this is fucking great. I feel like they would have been over it for a while. I mean, we've actually talked about this before. It's really easy to dive deep into like who hates these bosses. You know what person actually might like, no matter how many pulls you're doing on a boss. Let's just say for the right now it's 300. The player that likes that is the player that requires all 300 of those pulls to get better. I.e., the worst person in your raid or the like lowest skill in your raid, right? And the person who dislikes that is the person in your raid that figured the boss out 100 pulls ago and is waiting for everyone else to do it. That person is in hell in 300 pulls. And the reality is it's really hard to get good skill parity in this game, and every guild is going to have a good amount of both of those players. And it's not surprising when you get polarizing results on whether you like something or don't like it. How do they do? The current system doesn't work, which is why they should nerf more stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think this is a very complicated issue. I don't know if there's any like clear-cut, easy solution to it. I'm sure they thought about this a lot. Like, the reality is you have like a mythic game mode and you have an extremely large delta of skill level people trying to complete it, and they've come into this like, let's make it nuclear hard for the race and like the best guilds, and then you get stronger over time. We'll also nerf it over time, and they try to include everyone. They've been doing it so long that honestly it's probably not going to ever change. Is there if you were coming out with a new game, is there a better way to do it? Is there more difficulty levels? Is there less? Is it more cosmetic and less about power? There's like so many different ways to look at it, but I don't think it's actually ever changing in WoW. It's just like been out for too long. This thread is going to get mobbed by race watchers who don't play the game, but you are right. Well, yeah, this was going to get downvoted because you're basically saying anyone that disagrees with you is someone who does. I mean, this definitely is a real thing, though. Like, right after the race, if you were to say, like, I liked the difficulty of Gallywix, which clearly at least half the people in this thread agree with, you would have been called a total idiot because it's just totally surrounded by people who don't even play the game and just watch the race, and their only opinion is, like, whether they get it's like they just watched a season of TV that had a bad finale, and that's the reason. It's bad. It was too easy and it's not fun. But like, you know, their opinions matter a lot less than you, the person who's actually like playing the game. The loudest people in WoW are people who haven't played in years. It's ironic. Yeah, but it also makes sense because they're like jaded, and you're more likely to hear someone be loud if they're upset about something versus content. Like, reviews on an apartment complex, same thing, right? You're ever gonna be like, actually, they never overcharged me for rent and I moved out in 2 years and it was just chill. You're just never gonna leave that review, but you are if you feel fucked by them in any way. All right, that was fun. Oh wow, this shit is dead. Expected. I'm actually really surprised, and maybe I'm just don't have my ear to the ground, but I'm surprised that Mythic Plusers aren't like really feeling the fact that there's no Fated season. Like, I bet Mythic Plus right now is a level of dead that has not existed in maybe ever or in a very long time in Mythic Plus, and the singular reason is because there's no Fated. There's been Fated, which, again, if you only care about Mythic Plus, is just straight up an extra new season of Mythic Plus you can look forward to every expansion, and it's just not happening this time. And I feel like the Mythic Plus community specifically has to feel bad about that. Nah, there's just no replay value. BFA and Legion didn't have Fated. Well, BFA and Legion had something very different though. They had the same dungeons for 2 years, so that's just what you were used to, right? But now you've had like rotating dungeons every season. So now when you don't get rotating dungeon, you're like, wait a second, we just had all these dungeons because it's changed, right? You didn't care about having Fated at the end of an expansion because you were already doing the same dungeons for 2 years. Now you have them rotating, and for the past 2 expansions, you have now gotten used to a Mythic Plus seasonal rotation around 5 or 6 months, regardless. It's just been straight up in 5 or 6 months for like 4 years. And then now it's just 8. So you're going to, those last couple months where there's no new season is going to feel crazy dog shit. And that's what's happening right now. Nothing wrong with taking a break before an expansion hits. So many great games out there. Trying to keep people playing this game 24/7 is a bad model. I mean, it's weird. It's like, yeah, I mean, as like a gamer, I feel like playing a bunch of different games is great for you, right? But I think Blizzard needs to try to make the people who play WoW all day, every day happy because, I mean, they're a subscription-based game, right? Like, shouldn't they be doing that? Shouldn't they feel compelled to create content that people can do all the time if they can? Right? I mean, that's been a huge push of theirs for the last, like, year or two. Honestly, feel like the Mythic Plus community in terms of meta and stuff has gotten drastically worse. Oh, interesting. To me, it seemed like it's been the same for a while. It's like ever since it was like, was it during COVID when like gaming became so like meta optimization tier listy type shit? Like that there's always been a subset of that in the community, but like compare that to like 2016, like Legion, like it was nowhere close. Like that whole, when I start playing a game, I have to play an S tier character shit. That was like a COVID thing, and it's been that way since. And that obviously transfers to all areas of gaming, but Mythic Plus big time. I actually think Mythic Plus might be one of the most restrictive, like tier listy ass, like problems in all of gaming. Because it just simply affects, like, in other games, you're like, oh, I'm going to play this fighting game. I'm going to play Smash Brothers. I want to make sure I'm playing a character that's really good. Okay, cool. But, like, that's not going to affect how often you get a game. But, like, in WoW, there's just a direct correlation between the perceived value of your class and how long it takes you to be able to play the game when you log on, which is fucking insane. I don't know if that exists anywhere else, right? Like in League, if you're maining some dog shit character, you're going to get chirped in the lobby or whatever, but you're going to get games. You might get people to run it down, but like you're going to be able to play. You like literally can't play WoW if you play a Mythic Plus class that's like not ideal, or it takes way longer. That's only true if you're playing MMOs as a single player game, though. If you have a friend group, you can play whatever. Yeah, but playing any game with friends is super goated and way better. But the reality is there is a lot of people who play Mythic Plus as a single player game. Just straight up. It's true.
One good thing about that, though, is they are making it way better to run your own key in the expansion, which I think helps those people out a lot. What is changing about it? Oh, I might be mixing up something that I read in a poll versus stuff they've actually announced. But do you guys know how they normally put out like surveys to people that like ask some questions that seem like they're going to go in a direction and then like eventually they do that thing? This is not a leak. There was a survey that was like, what if we made it when you ran your own key, you got like extra crests or you got there was someone can probably find it, but they all sounded like really awesome changes that would only just benefit you for running your own key, which I think would really help Mythic Plus a lot. And it just sounded like things they would implement, but I might have been confusing that with stuff they have already implemented. So there's no guarantee they will, but all of them seemed like they have no downside. They do. There's a very high correlation with those surveys and things they eventually do, by the way. And even specifically on that one, usually you ask yourself the question of like, okay, they're considering doing something like this. That's why they're doing a survey. But then you can think about the downsides. There were actually no downsides to just making it way more incentivized to run your own key. There's none. It just puts more keys in the group finder, which is just good. And if you're playing off meta, it's way easier to fill a group than it is to join one. $7,000 keys listed and no one will sign up for another's key. So obviously those kind of things will always equal themselves out based on how many people are actually... Yeah, if you incentivize it too much, no one wants to do anything but run their own key, but eventually people are going to want to play the game. But if there's a lot of extra keys and there's less people signing up for them, you know what else that does? Incentivize you to invite the people who sign up and not sit there for 20 minutes and invite your picture perfect comp, because it will be unreasonable to expect that, right? Tanking and healing isn't a glamorous job, though. People hating on them are delusional. Yeah. They should add real money as a reward for timing keys. Bro, so true. Fucking so true, dude. Hell yeah. What a fucking take. That's insane. What's in the WoW section? I made an illustrated map of the Eastern Kingdoms. Yo, that's sick. That is really cool. Is it AI slop? I guess it's hard to tell these days. I mean, whether it's AI or not, it looks fucking cool as hell. Dude, this is what is sick about housing. Especially when we saw that one house with the fox in it. Like, obviously, there's a bunch of assets to make a cool house, but the fact that you can just make anything with different colored rocks is going to be endless creativity. Thank you, Blizzard. Step in the right direction. What could this be about? I've collected everything I want to in Legion Remix. Now I don't want it to end. It's a meme about the chain Keeney. Apparently, chain Keeney is a big deal. Oh, okay. Thank you, Blizzard. A step in the dear God. What's wrong with the chain bikini? I don't get it. It's just a thing. It's a Gooner Mog. Okay. All achievements completed, 6 expansions in a row. Holy fuck. There's a subreddit dedicating to housing. You should look it up. I mean, what's it even called? Warcraft housing? WoW housing Reddit. World of Warcraft housing. Yeah, I've already seen like a Zeppelin house. Ooh. Sick. Zelda build. Oh, I saw this house, I think. Yeah, I did. Dude, I don't know why this is, but every time I love Legend of Zelda, by the way. I like Ocarina of Time like got me into games. This is not like negative to Zelda or anything. But what I can't get out of my head about Zelda, if you've ever been to any kind of convention like Comic-Con, BlizzCon, any kind of like nerd-centric convention, the Zelda guy, the person who's going to be wearing a Zelda t-shirt is just the exact same person. Just cloned. You guys can picture them right now without even me like even describing them. And I can't get over that. How it's so like the same. Oh, that's sick. There are APM changes at midnight? What's that? Yeah, cargo shorts. Yep. Midnight, Season 1, Mythic Plus Dungeon Development Notes. Oh, just like nerfs, stuff like that. Nothing. All right. Okay. So typically when you're at this point of the stream, when I'm like At least on a normal day when there's like not a ton going on. Oh, even 3.5 hours. Um, not doing this today, but something I was talking to Frank about trying to do of like branching out a little bit because like normally I just stream and I just just kind of fuck around whenever I'm feeling like it. Uh, but I wanted to stray outside of WoW stuff specifically at the end of streams. Nothing politics or culture war related. It most likely will still be gaming related. Just anytime there's any news on that front. Also, ideally, not any kind of like streamer drama or anything. I don't give a fuck about that. So just know there's going to be a channel for this. If you're interested in you guys know me pretty well. If you guys are interested in my takes or things that you think I would find interesting, in the Discord, there's a channel called Non-WoW Theft. We'll be stealing some content potentially. It can be reaction stuff. It can be a Reddit thread that we all think of. I'm assuming most of it will be gaming related, but even non-gaming related. But again, strictly no culture war, politics, drama that even remotely goes in those areas. Completely not interested in that. So yeah, that'll be the vibe. Not doing that today, but there is a channel for that I will go through typically at this point in the stream, just to add some length to it, because there's just not a lot of stuff going on in like WoW Farm. Basically, just going to result in me streaming a little more would be the idea, but might be trying some things we haven't tried before. We'll see how it goes. Can you tackle drama of something that you know nothing of and is insanely niche so it won't offend anyone? Yeah, sure. All retired WoW streamers turn to Gamba. Put some slots on. Man, yeah, I really hope I never have to do that. Like, basically, would I turn to monetizing my audience for something that I fundamentally disagree with and think is evil? I would like to say no, but if I had the choice between, like, let's say like all of this crumbles and falls and it's like getting a real job or doing that, I don't know if I'm strong enough to say that I wouldn't do that. But I would like to think that that's true, but I haven't been put in that position. But yeah. Or hear me out, Max, you could try actually playing a game. Yeah, we could do some variety stuff that I would find interesting and would be fun to stream. Currently, I'm just not really interested in playing WoW right now. And variety is some stuff we've done on the stream, but it's kind of specific to the type of game. But yeah, all that's possible. I think the variety game that I want to play on stream is like pretty unique. What were the most fun ones? Honestly, Detroit Become Human was the most fun variety experience I've ever done. That was a banger. But I'm not sure. The Quarry, yeah, the Quarry type games are always really fun too. Dude, Red Dead Redemption 2. All right, so this is why a lot of games are not awesome variety experiences for me. I don't care about cutscenes and I skip all of them. So on games where even any amount of the player base or viewer base cares about the story of a game and then they see me skip it, it fucking pisses them off so much. And it's just not who I am, right? So that lowers your list of games pretty significantly. Race to World Last watch party and give unsolicited advice to guilds that are very close. Yeah, we could definitely do that. That's like over the next few weekends, right? Max, have you ever played Pico Park? I have played Pico Park with Fired Up and Shack being very chaotic.
Right, I think that will be it for today, though. Most likely.
You should do a race world last guild to merc for would be cinema. Oh, my characters all stink.
That actually would be kind of fun. Honestly. Basically, if I could just be given a character right now, I could just pick a spec, and I got not the best gear in the game, but like relevant gear to whatever guild I was joining, I would actually instantly do that. The thing that is keeping me from doing that is the process of getting that gear. Would be boring, and I wouldn't want to do it. Hopeful's got you covered. Yeah. I'm actually surprised you liked Detroit Become Human. Isn't that game just story and cutscenes? Yes. But it's like an amazing stream experience. Like every decision you make really matters for the outcome, and it's a really well made like story game. And that's like kind of the point. Like basically games that are gameplay focused, I'm just so into the gameplay that I want to skip all the other bullshit to get to it. But like a game like Detroit Become Human is so fascinating in how it like lays everything out with like all the choices mattering. Like for example, when I finished that game, I went through and basically on stream for like 2 hours looked through all the potential things that could have happened to the story based on small things, and I thought that was really fun. And the chat is super invested in like where it's going, and also helps make decisions for you. It's just very fun. Claire Obscure would be a game you would love. Oh, I played this shit out of that game. Not on stream, though. But yeah, turbo banger game. I skipped every single cutscene, though. Didn't care about the story at all. But the gameplay of that game is sick. Max, Dispatch will be up your alley. What the fuck is Dispatch? Never even heard of this game. Oh, it's way up there. 98% of people liked this video game. It's a streamer game. Dispatch is pretty much pure story. It's like watching a movie with your stream though, because it's like a giant cutscene. Yeah, no, games like that are goated. Like I would say basically games that I wouldn't mind streaming are games that people are saying are actually really good stream games. Because obviously, right? Dude, maybe you know what? Let's do that. Let's play Dispatch on stream like over the weekend or some shit. That actually sounds really fun. We'll try that. I haven't looked at it, but from the way you guys are describing it and based on the correlation between something else I told you I liked, that probably would be a huge banger. Is it a game like that where like the decisions you make are pretty consequential even if it's not like pure gameplay? Right? Where like it can go in a certain direction? Branching narrative game. Yep. Goated, goated, goated. That sounds fun. It's like the Quarry, but instead of exploring the environment, you play a card game, then make some cutscene decisions. Ooh, I like a card game. Dude, my girlfriend started playing Hogwarts Legacy. And I forgot how much I loved the mini game in that game, Akio or whatever it's called, the one where you drag the balls like closer to the edge but not knock them off. Shit owns. All right. I am dipping though. GG.